Chapter 121 _ Amazing Landmark History Text. It's him again. We fought him. Jack's eyes turned blood red, his muscular body swelled and deformed, and he was about to turn into a mammoth and fight Roran to the death. Now is not the time to be crazy. Quinn on the side gave a low voice and pressed Jack's shoulder. Do you want to kill us all? Brother Kai and Jin combined are not Lauren's opponents. Do you think it's useless for us to work hard now? All we have to do is to live. Don't forget, we still have that thing in the cabin, and with it, we will definitely be able to make a comeback, and it will not be too late to take revenge by then. Hearing this, Jack shrank back like a deflated balloon, gritted his teeth, and sat back on the deck beside him unwillingly. Quinn squeezed out a flattering smile with his fat pie face. Lord Lauren, our boat is too broken, we just wanted to ride a boat to get through the storm, never expected this. It's Lord Lauren's ship, which disturbs the Lord's mood. Lord Lauren, we will leave now. Lauren shook his head helplessly, and with his eyes closed, he could feel the malice emanating from Quinn and Jack. It's such a clumsy lie. Without giving Quinn a chance to quibble, Laurent directly punched him in the air, and the thick energy turned into a huge white beam of light and flew out, still a twilight image. Damn it, this lunatic. Quinn gritted her teeth and cursed inwardly, not knowing that Laurent could sense maliciousness. He naturally did not expect Laurent's shot, and when Quinn reacted, the shock wave of Shixiang had already come to him. It's too late to hide. Quinn swung his body, and the fat piled up with fat continued to enlarge and harden. He activated the ability of the dragon fruit and turned into a giant brachiosaurus with an extremely long neck. Bang! With the muffled sound of a shock wave colliding with the flesh, Quinn used his body to eat Roran's evening elephant. Although Quinn wrapped a layer of domineering armament on the surface of his body, his chest was strong. The position where it was hit by the Shixiang was still deeply sunk. PFF'd. Quinn felt as if he had hit a high-speed train head-on. With a sweet mouth, he coughed out a mouthful of blood uncontrollably, and fell to the side. Big Brother Quinn. Jack, who had just been appeased by Quinn, broke out again, bursting out the power of the fruit without reservation. The thick brown hair skyrocketed along with the body shape, and two huge long teeth emerged from the corners of Jack's mouth on both sides, bending upwards strongly. He spun together, and in the blink of an eye, Jack turned into a fierce ancient mammoth. Open black lens bracket can't fight here, you have to go to his ship. Close black lens bracket. Jack knew that fighting on his own ship would only lead to the destruction of the ship, so he bent his limbs slightly and then suddenly exerted force at the same time. The huge figure enough to cover the sky jumped and came to Lauren's ship. This is the remains of Jack. The last bit of sanity. Lauren, you'll kill me. Jack's eyes were split with hatred, and the huge elephant face became extremely ferocious. A pair of forelimbs were raised high and aimed at Lauren and stomped down, trying to crush Lauren. Lauren dodged and avoided Jin very calmly. Without hitting Lauren, Jack's forelimb fell on top of Class A. Boom! Shock! The deafening loud sound was only a scream. Even the ship forged by Baoshu Adam couldn't withstand the violent Jack at the moment. Sawdust and flying ash sputtered out from where he landed, and the deck was cracked every inch, with cracks like cobwebs. It stretched from Jack's feet to the end of the line of sight. Now Jack has exerted his physical strength to the extreme. He is brute force and indestructible, and a small movement at will contains the terrifying power that is enough to cause a small earthquake. If the blow fails, Jack swings his long elephant trunk again, like a steel whip. It slashed towards Lauren. And Quinn, who had just been knocked down by Lauren, also slowed down with his amazing recovery ability. The huge dragon head was raised high and slammed towards Lauren from a height. At the same time, the cadres and minions on the ship of the beast pirates also picked up long-range weapons such as firearms, bows and crossbows, and launched an attack on Lauren. For a time, all kinds of different attacks hit Lauren like a torrential rain. You can't let you destroy the ship. The King's engine is in second gear. A surge of strength all over his body, Lauren grabbed Jack's nose, then raised his arms high and turned them quickly. After turning on the King's engine, Lauren directly threw Jack, who was in a mammoth state. At this time, Jack, who was spinning at a high speed, was like a huge meat shield, intercepting bullets and arrows in midair without falling, and finally he slammed into Quinn's head again. Quinn, who had just calmed down, went dark and fainted again. After doing all this, Lauren loosened his hand slightly and threw Jack back to the ship of the beast pirates. At this time, Jack was dizzy and dazzled by Lauren, and he collided with his own ship before he could get rid of his mammoth form. Boom! An earth-shattering loud sound rang out. Jack's huge size brought super inertia, which turned him into a giant cannonball, blowing up the ship of the beast pirates. The loss of the ship means that all people who do not have the ability to fly will fall into the sea. For the beast pirates, almost all of whom are devil fruit people, this is undoubtedly equivalent to being sentenced to death. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of falling into the water can be heard endlessly. There is not a hint of softness in Lauren's eyes. His sympathy and compassion will only be reserved for the strong in the heart. Obviously, such a person will never appear in the beast pirates. Among the remnants of the regiment. At this moment, the cries for help came one after another. Broken wooden boards, broken flags, and struggling drowning people intertwined in this sea area, forming a hell scene like the end of the world. In the chaotic sea, a red square boulder that was slowly sinking suddenly caught Lauren's eye. What is this? Lauren only felt that the red boulder in front of him was extraordinarily familiar, but he couldn't remember where he heard about it. Just when Lauren was thinking hard, Robin's voice suddenly came from behind. Quick! Lauren, don't let it sink. Robin, who felt the movement of the battle, originally just came out to check the situation, but after seeing the red stones gradually sinking into the deep sea, Robin, who has always been calm, was instantly full of anxiety and nervousness, and pointed at the trembling body. The sea shouted, "Get that rock up." That's the landmark history that recorded the location of Ralph Drew. Chapter 122 Open black lens bracket Goodbye Whitebeard Close black lens bracket. Hearing Robin's words, Lauren jumped into the sea without saying a word. After solving the episode brought by the beast pirates, Lauren and his party resumed their full speed towards the Moby Dick. Really history. Looking at the red boulder with sharp edges and corners in front of him, Robin's beautiful eyes shone brightly, stroking the rough surface of history unbelievably, and murmured, "I didn't expect the rumors about the history of the 4 road signs to be true. Kaido actually has a piece in his hand." Ah! Behind Robin, the wet Lauren sneezed loudly, and then stared at Robin who couldn't extricate herself like a little grumpy woman and said, "It's obvious that I fished it out of the sea, and I'm concerned about the stone ratio. You care more about me. What's so good about a broken stone?" Suddenly, a soft touch came from the back of Lauren's head, followed by Karina's playful voice. Hee, why is our god of destruction eating a stone of flying vinegar?" Lauren pretended to be exaggerating and said fiercely, "I tell you, don't be too arrogant, and you will pay a price for provoking the captain's majesty like this." Hearing this, Karina stretched out her slender fingers and lifted Lauren's chin, and put her chin in Lauren's ear and said, "I'm afraid what the price will be, Captain. It is unbearable and unbearable." Feeling the hot snort in his ear, Lauren hugged Karina sideways in his arms amid the girl's exclamation, and walked into the cabin with a wicked smile on his face. "Soon you know what the punishment is, crew Karina." When Lauren was about to carry Karina close to the cabin for exercise, the ship stopped moving forward abruptly. The huge inertia made Lauren almost lose Karina in his arms. Lauren gently put Karina back, then rolled up his sleeves and turned around. He wanted to see who ruined his mood at this time. The one who responded to Lauren was Nami's pink fist. "You two bastards, you have been thinking about doing this and that all day long, and don't even look at where you are now." Hearing this, Lauren looked up and saw a huge white whale head in front of his group. Oncoming, what is not the Moby Dick of the Whitebeard pirates? Karina stuck out her pink tongue. "It's not my fault. It's all done by the little thief cat. Go and negotiate with Whitebeard. We'll wait for you on the boat." "Well, I'll be back in a while." Lauren nodded, threw the extra thoughts out of his mind, and jumped to the bow of the Moby Dick. "Stop the boat." "It's Lauren." What Lauren is doing here is not to intercept it. I don't know, get your weapon first. Soon as Lauren got on the ship, he was surrounded by the crew of the Whitebeard pirates. Marco came to Lauren with a mess of spinach. Lauren, what are you doing on Daddy's boat? I'm here to work with Uncle Whitebeard. Looking at the surrounding crew members, Lauren spread his hands and smiled. There is no need to welcome me so solemnly. Cooperation. Marco looked at Lauren suspiciously. There was no friendship between Lauren and the Whitebeard pirates. Lauren, who disappeared for a year, came to find Dad at this critical juncture, not knowing whether he was an enemy or a friend, and Marco was caught in a dilemma for a while. I know if I should let Lauren go. Goo ha 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 ha. Just when Marco was hesitating, Whitebeard's heroic laughter came from a distance. It's okay Marco, let him come over. But Daddy. It's okay, let him come over, I'm a Whitebeard. Feeling the firmness in Whitebeard's tone, Marco had no choice but to step aside, and the surrounding crew also consciously retreated to both sides, making way for Lauren. Lauren passed through the crowd and saw Whitebeard, who had not seen each other for a year, but the sight in front of him made Lauren startled for a moment. Whitebeard's figure is still so tall and strong, but at this time, his muscular body is densely filled with countless needles and drips, showing his old age, making it difficult to fight with that the world of a lifetime's strongest man Edward Newgate linked together. Feeling Lauren's surprised eyes, Whitebeard's expression did not change at all. What's the matter, Lauren kid, I'm frightened by my appearance. Seeing the light-hearted Whitebeard, Lauren smiled slightly and sat cross-legged directly opposite the Whitebeard. No uncle, just remembered a poem from the parents, and I was a little dazed. Oh. Whitebeard asked with great interest. What sentence, let's hear it. Since ancient times, heroes are like beautiful women, and they are not allowed to see white heads in the world. Hearing this, Whitebeard's vicissitudes of life showed a hint of reminiscence in his eyes, and then he looked up and laughed loudly. Gee ha ha ha. You are not allowed to see whiteheads in the world. I am very interested in your hometown, Lauren, and I really want to see it with my own eyes. Ah, if there is a chance. Lauren shook his head helplessly. I can't go back, let alone take you to see Uncle. Is that so? What a pity. Whitebeard didn't bother with Lauren's reply, but said with a smile, you just said to cooperate with me. Talk about it, little Lauren, what do you want to cooperate with me? Lauren nodded and said, yes, Uncle Whitebeard, have you seen the announcement from the Navy? Ace has been arrested. Whitebeard's expression didn't change at all, and he still kept smiling. Yes, I received the news. Without feeling any emotional change from Whitebeard's expression, Lauren couldn't help but ask, Uncle, Ace will be executed in 3 days, don't you want to do something? Goo ha 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 ha. Whitebeard laughed and waved his hand. It's impossible for Ace to be executed. Lauren, have you seen the son who died before Lao Tzu? Lauren could answer. The smile on Whitebeard's face disappeared instantly, and the powerful aura that once belonged to the strongest man in the world filled the two of them. Ace will never die, at least, he won't die in me before this Daddy. Lauren, are you here to stop me from going to Maravendo to rescue Ace? Soon as he finished speaking, Whitebeard ripped off the infusion tubes on his body, picked up Kong Yunchi, who was standing beside him, and stood up from his seat. If that's the case, you can give it a try. 3 black photos appeared on Lauren's head. Did they look like the villain in the eyes of the Whitebeard pirates? Why are they all so hostile to them? Don't get me wrong, Uncle Whitebeard. Lauren showed a big smile. I'm here this time to find you to make a mess of Marin Fando together. Chapter 123. The Alliance Between the Strongest Men in the World. Hearing Lauren's answer, Whitebeard was obviously startled. His eyes flashed with countless complicated expressions. He didn't speak for a long time, and finally said, Little devil, do you know what I faced in the past? Power, whether it's Aokiji Akainu or Carp Sengoku, all the navies are my enemies. Whitebeard sat back in the chair, and his battle-hardened body showed a hint of old age. You go, Lauren kid, I can save my son, it's still not my turn to find someone else to help. I know this very well. Lauren patted his chest. Uncle Whitebeard, you may have misunderstood something. I'm not here to help you save Ace this time. The world government that was born to maintain the draconian rule has become rotten. Lauren pointed to the sky, his eyes shining with determination. The army is the strongest weapon in the hands of the world government, no matter what. Has Ace been caught? Sooner or later, I will break the sword in the hands of the heavenly dragon, and it happens that you are going to save Ace, Uncle, so I will come to you. World government. Even Whitebeard, who had been fighting on this sea all his life, was surprised when he heard Lauren's words. You are a member of the Revolutionary Army. I'm not a Revolutionary Army, I just simply dislike Tianlong people. Lauren had never had contact with the Revolutionary Army personnel, and his knowledge of the Revolutionary Army was limited to Karina's oral introduction. How could it be the Revolutionary Army? He shook his head and said, by the way, Uncle Whitebeard, do you want it? Work with me. Good. Whitebeard nodded, and then said solemnly, but Lauren, no matter what. What reason do you have for going to Marinfando this time? The Whitebeard pirates owe you an unrepayable favor, and after returning, no matter what difficulties you encounter, the Whitebeard pirates will fully support you behind your back. After speaking, Whitebeard stretched out a hand and clenched his fist in front of Lauren. Okay, Uncle. Lauren showed a row of white teeth with a smile and stretched out his fist to meet Whitebeard's fist. It's a deal. The two fists, one big and one small, collided tightly, proclaiming an unprecedented alliance between the two strongest men in the world. No one can foresee what kind of drastic changes the alliance between the heroes of the old era and the kings of the new era will bring to the world, but it is conceivable that this will definitely bring a catastrophe about life and death to the Navy. What Lauren didn't even know was that his actions had invisibly reversed the original fate of Whitebeard's death, and the butterfly that gently flapped its wings, once again set off a gust of wind that changed fate. Whitebeard put Kong Yunchi up on the deck, raised his arms and shouted, "Gu ha ha ha. Sons, come here." Hearing Whitebeard's call, Marco, Jose, Vista and other squad leaders brought the crew to Whitebeard's side one after another. Whitebeard patted Laurent on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Listen, everyone, this time, Laurent will go with us to Maravendo to rescue Ace. From today, Laurent is the most determined of the Whitebeard pirates. Allies, anyone who fights with them is the enemy of the Whitebeard pirates, get it?" As soon as Whitebeard said these words, the entire Moby Dick fell into silence in an instant, including all the squad leaders looking at Lauren in shock. What? The laziness in Marco's eyes dissipated. He said, "You are going to Marinvando with us." Marco never thought. Cooperation, that Lauren said. It was actually the bearded pirates who went to the Marinvando tribulation field together. If the person who announced the news was not an old man, he would definitely not believe that such a thing happened. What, is it weird? Lauren looked at Marco with a half smile, playful. I call Lu Jian's sword to help you, do you understand? Foil Vista, the captain of the 5th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, who has always been calm, couldn't help but murmured, "Is this the courage of the new generation of the world's strongest man? It's really admirable." After everyone calmed down, the surprise in their hearts had turned into joy. The action of the Whitebeard Pirates had already exhausted all the power under the control of Whitebeard. The duel is not an exaggeration to say that it is a life-and-death situation, and the arrival of Lauren at this time undoubtedly gave the members of the Whitebeard Pirates a shot in the arm. "Okay boys, hurry up and head to the Chambord Islands." Whitebeard waved his hand, "Let's go get Ace back." The Chambord Islands. Lauren asked suspiciously, "Aren't we going to Maravendo?" Now that he has become an ally with Lauren, there is naturally nothing to hide. Marco immediately informed Lauren of his plan to coat the ship and launch a surprise attack from under the sea. After listening to Marco's plan, Lauren said with a smile, "If I want to coat the ship, I know a good candidate." Hearing this, Marco said suspiciously, "Lauren, our actions this time are top secret and cannot be easily known to outsiders. Who are the coating craftsmen you are talking about?" It's an interesting uncle named Sil Basrieli. You'll know when you get there. See you at Chambord. After speaking, Lauren returned to his ship from the Moby Dick. Sil Basrieli. Marco rubbed his wild pineapple head. He always felt that the name was familiar, but he couldn't remember who it was for a while. Forget it. In the end, Marco shook his head, turned his head and said helplessly, Hey. Dad, how many times have I said, don't just pull out the needle. Nami, wake up. On the other side, Lauren, who was back on the boat, stretched out his fingers and flicked the little thief cat who was lying on the table in a daze, and said, follow the Moby Dick, we'll go to the Chambord Islands. Chambord Islands, Area 13 is under Shachi's ripping off. Shachi is wiping the cups on the bar, while Rayleigh is sitting by the bar, holding a bottle of inferior ale and drinking. Suddenly, Rayleigh seemed to feel something, and the sharp eyes under the glasses showed a look of reminiscence. It seems that Lauren has brought an amazing person here. Glancing at the empty door, Shachi wondered, who? Just an old friend. A meaningful smile appeared on Riley's face. You'll find out soon. Blue. Shachi, who was in the fog and misty as Rayleigh said, was about to ask a question, but the phone worm rang abruptly. Seeing the phone bug imitating Lauren's appearance, Shachi answered the phone and said, Mosamaxi, little Lauren, is there anything else this time? Lauren's vigorous voice came from the phone bug. Is Uncle Rayleigh free now? I have a big business to introduce to Uncle. Chapter 124, Mountain Rain is Coming. Shakimo glanced at Rayleigh who was on the side, and said, Little Lauren, Rayleigh is in my bar now, you can come to the 18th area and find me directly. Okay, I'll go right now. After saying this, there was no sound from the phone worm, and after hanging up the phone worm, a dong sounded at the door of the bar. The knock on the door. Come in. Shachi stared at the door tightly, noticing what Rayleigh called, an old friend. She was also very curious. Excuse me, Aunt Sha. Lauren pushed the door open, and behind him was Marco, who had been sneaking around since entering the door. Phoenix Marco, after seeing who was coming, Shachi blew a smoke ring gracefully and thought to herself, it turns out that the old friend Rayleigh said was Whitebeard. I never thought he would come to the Chambord Islands at this time. How could they have contact with Lauren? Close black lens bracket. Hey, Lauren, the coding craftsmen in this place are as good as you say. I don't think they are as good. After entering the door, Marco's voice stopped abruptly, and after noticing the decadent old man with silver hair sitting on the ground, his pupils suddenly shrank, and he said in disbelief, You are the Hades Rayleigh. Rayleigh smiled, raised his hand and said hello. Yo, little brother. You don't seem to trust the old man's coding technology very much. I dare not. Marco, who was surprised for a while, returned to his usual lazy expression again, waved his hand and said, Dad is on the boat outside now, don't you guys go and see each other. The old friend is here, there is no reason why I should not accept it. After speaking, Rayleigh got up and dragged 2 wine barrels aside and walked out of the bar. Shachi served Lauren and Marco a cup of hot tea and asked, Little Lauren, do you want to go to Marinfando too? That's right. Lauren nodded. Said, Aunt Sha, how did you know? It's no secret that Whitebeard summoned all its pirates to save Ace in the New World. Smiled and said, At this time, you brought the Whitebeard pirates to coat the ship. Is it strange for me to guess that? But if you go to Marinfando, I have some news to tell you. Shachi put down the cigarette stick and said with a stern face, I received information that yesterday, the Yellow Monkey went to Wangwa where the pirate group is located, and the Yellow Monkey stayed on the Cake Island for about half an hour, during which time he did not interact with the pirate group. Conflict broke out. I think you need to be on your guard, and although there's nothing going on over there right now, it's likely that they've reached some sort of agreement with the Navy, and you'd better be careful. The news that the Navy has contacted the 4 emperors is not something that ordinary people can easily find out. This information is very important to the Whitebeard pirates. Marco on the side can't help but glance at Shachi and sigh in his heart. no just being the Pluto, this woman is not simple. Close black lens bracket, pirates. Hearing this news, Lauren's expression didn't change. Instead he said with a smile, "It doesn't matter, Aunt Shaw, if I don't come, I will go to her sooner or later, and if I really meet at Malinfando to save her, I'll get rid of her in one fell swoop." Sure enough, he is a fighting maniac full of thoughts about fighting. Seeing the image of Lauren in front of her being matched with the images circulating in the outside world, Shachi took a puff on the cigarette stick, rubbed her forehead speechlessly and said, "If there is no problem, it's fine, I'm just afraid that the girl Hancock will be sad. A reminder to you. Feel the same." There was also Marco who spoke. He almost didn't spit out the tea in his mouth when he heard the words just now. Like Lauren, the whole world who didn't take the 4 emperors in their eyes was looking for a second one. What's more irritating is that Lauren still there is such a power to ignore the 4 emperors. The current Lauren can be described as strong and arrogant, making his teeth ticklish. Squeak. The creaking bar door was pushed open again, and Rayleigh walked in with a smile on his face, and at the same time, there was also the Whitebeard who came in through the door bowed down. "Long time no see, Edward." Shachi raised the cigarette stick in her hand as a greeting. Goo ha ha ha. Seeing Shachi's white beard, he was stunned for a while, and then he said with a smile, "I met a lot of old friends today, and when I saw that brand, I would guess if you opened this bar, I didn't expect you and Rayleigh to live here all the time." Marco moved a chair and placed it beside Whitebeard. "Dad, why did you get off the boat casually?" "I'm not that old yet." Whitebeard sat on the chair and waved his hand. "I have let everyone on the ship disembark to buy weapons to confuse the eyes of the Navy brats, and now the Moby Dick has asked Riley to secretly transfer the coating." Rayleigh stretched out 2 fingers and said, "Don't worry, the coating will be completed within 2 days. The plan you young people came up with is really bold. If there is a chance, I really want to see the expressions of Carp and Sengoku." "Ha ha ha ha. Stop talking nonsense." Whitebeard slapped the table with his big hand. "How can you not drink when you come to the bar? Rayleigh, I haven't seen you for so many years. I don't know if you have enough alcohol. You know what you're good at." Riley dragged 2 barrels aside again. "That's what I want to say too. Totland Kingdom, Cake Island." A pirate ship decorated with huge candies slowly sailed from the sea around Cake Island. The sails were printed with a huge skull with a fur collar and a pirate hat. It was the Sea, the main ship of the thieves, the Queen's chorus. In the cabin of the Queen's chant, the huge body threw piece after piece of chiffon cake into his bottomless mouth. At this moment, a tall man with a fur collar covering his mouth came beside him and said softly, "Mom, everything is ready, you can go." The visitor is the head of the 3 desert generals with only 1 status and strength, Charlotte Katakuri. He glanced at Katakuri sideways. "Very good, let me know," and set off for Marin Vando. Okay. Marin Vando, the warring states of the Navy headquarters, looked at the map in front of him with a solemn expression, and arranged one after another force distribution around Marin Vando. Facing the menacing Whitebeard pirates, he did not allow himself to appear a slight negligence. Beside Sengoku, Garp sat quietly in his seat uncharacteristically, staring out the window in a trance, not knowing what he was thinking. Sengoku raised his head and glanced at Garp. Warring states, who had fought with Garp for many years, understood the difficulties of this old man and the complicated mood he was in. He put down the document in his hand and said solemnly, "Cap, this battle, you will rest in the back. Leave it to us." Hearing this, Garp raised his head, his painful eyes flashing with firm eyes. "I am a Navy, I can't violate my position, but at least let me send Ace the last ride." Sengoku no more speechless. "Cap. The mountains and the rain are about to come, and the wind is filling the building." Around the execution 2 days later, the forces of all parties have still begun their final assembly. This heavy rain is finally about to fall. Chapter 125, Battle. 2 days flew by, and in a blink of an eye, Ace's execution day officially arrived. Marin Vando warring states, Carp, the 3 generals, Shichibukai, and countless lieutenant generals, major generals, all the combat power of the naval headquarters and the main combat power of the naval branch are all gathered in Marin Fando at this moment, waiting for the war. When it came, countless navies were stationed in every corner of Marin Vandu, making Marin Vandu an indestructible armed fortress. Although the surrounding area is still calm, and no ships other than warships can be seen within sight, everyone present knows that this is just the tranquility before the storm. The criminal battle since its inception. At this moment, countless videophone bugs are all aimed at the execution ground of Marin Vando. All the countries, cities and villages where videophone bugs are installed all over the world have the scene of Marin Vando. There are pictures. This is Aokiji, Kazaru, Akainu. 3 generals have appeared at the same time. Nonsense, this time the navy is facing Whitebeard. Oh, is that the lady? I'm going to die. Would you like to bet on which side will win? There is no suspense at all. In terms of personal strength, Whitebeard may be much stronger, but how can he and a pirate group be an opponent of the navy? Countless similar discussions keep popping up among all audiences around the world, and everyone is eagerly awaiting the coming of this war destined to be epic. As the execution time approached, the Whitebeard pirates showed no sign of showing up, and a tense atmosphere gradually spread from the port, covering the heads of everyone present. At this time, Ace, who was knelt on the execution platform by Halushi's handcuffs, became joy. He knew the current state of Whitebeard's body. If Dad came to save him, he would definitely die. Ace was afraid of death, but he is more afraid that his father and his friends will die for him. Looking at the calm sea, Ace prayed silently in his heart, "Don't come, Daddy." Strange, the execution time is coming, and there is not a single person in Whitebeard's side. The crane put down the telescope in his hand and muttered to himself. "Don't let your guard down." Warring States Years said solemnly, "Whitebeard may appear from every place, must not be taken lightly, especially near the gate of justice. Don't relax at all, he will definitely come." Finally, when this depressing atmosphere was about to crush everyone's nerves, as the first black pirate flag appeared from the sea, then, the densely packed pirate ships completely broke into everyone's minds. In sight. They're coming. This is not the flag of the Whitebeard pirates. Dorma the Ranger, Brother Durban, the Maelstrom Couillard. It's the 43 pirates under Whitebeard. A Navy soldier hurried to the side of the Warring States. "Do you want to launch an attack, Marshal Warring States?" "Wait, the Whitebeard pirates haven't appeared yet." Sengoku's eyes crossed the 43 Whitebeard's pirate regiments and paid close attention to the surroundings. These ships cannot pass through the gate of justice. Whitebeard must be hiding nearby and have a plan, so let me keep an eye on the sea. Yes. Under the refusal of everyone in the Navy, the 43 pirate groups under Whitebeard's banner came unimpeded all the way to the Gate of Justice. Now that there was no forced entry or attack, and the pirate fleet stopped quietly in front of the Gate of Justice, making it impossible to guess the intention. Whitebeard. Warring States narrowed his eyes slightly and murmured in a low voice, "What exactly do you want to do?" This delicate balance between Navy and pirate was quickly upset. A slight tremor came from under the feet of everyone, and in the bay surrounded by the crescent-shaped Marin Fando, waves of waves gradually swayed on the calm water. Could it be? Sengoku's pupils suddenly dilated, and he shouted loudly, "Soldiers near the port! Get out of the way!" Sengoku's response was quick, but the soldiers' response was still one step behind. Wow! The huge waves like a tsunami soared fiercely, and a huge, white whale giant. Out of the Marine Vandone Bay, it was the Moby Dick, and the tall figure of Whitebeard was standing on the bow of the Moby Dick. Whitebeard and his ship appeared. "Dad." On the execution platform, Ace gritted his teeth tightly. The thing he was worried about finally happened. He told his father very much and told them to go back immediately, but now he can't do anything and can only watch everything happen. Looking at the soldiers caught in the waves, Sengoku turned his head and shouted, "Aokiji! Freeze the sea!" Aokiji nodded understandingly, got up from the chair, and appeared in front of the port in a blink of an eye, and the icy cold air was released from his hand. Ice Age. However, before the blue pheasant froze the bay, a huge white beam of light crashed from half of the Moby Dick into countless fine powder of ice crystals. Beam of light dissipated, and the fine ice crystals flew towards the green pheasant one after another, and assembled its body back. The green pheasant, who had escaped the catastrophe by elementalization, did not have any joy in the rest of his life. His eyes were fixed on the Moby Dick. The figure of the man spit out the slightest chill in his mouth. "I didn't expect that you actually came. Long time no see, Kuzan." A full-fledged response came from the Moby Dick, like a heavy hammer hitting the hearts of all the Navy. The brows of the warring states instantly locked into a chew-on. "Word, he is still here." Kizaru covered his face innocently and said, "I'm still waiting for him outside now. Who would have known that he would come down from the sea in a white-bearded boat?" Aokiji's eyes also became cold. "Roran, are you sure you want to save someone who has nothing to do with you and the entire Navy as an enemy?" Hearing this, Luo Lun jumped up high, and with a domineering punch wrapped around his armor, he directly knocked a group of Navy soldiers to the side, and then fell steadily to the ground, with an icy expression. 19 years, how could I pass up this chance for revenge, Kuzan?" At the same time, when Lauren's figure appeared on the screen, the whole world boiled. "Lauren, it's the god of destruction, Lauren. Lauren has appeared from Whitebeard's ship. This is amazing." 2 world's strongest men came out of the Moby Dick together. It's not certain who the Navy and Whitebeard will win this time. Under the eyes of the whole world, Lauren slowly put on the seafloor stone gloves that Doflamingo had given him, and showed a harmless smile. "Go all out, Kuzan. Or you will die." Chapter 126. The Strongest Sword of Tianlong People. Not necessary for Luo Ren to say that Aokiji also knows that this may be the most dangerous battle he has ever fought since he became a general. The rich cold air emerged from Aokiji's palm and instantly turned into 5 huge icicles. He took the lead in launching the battle. Attack 1. The white and flawless icicles shot at Lauren like 5 slender white rods, and as long as one of them hits, Lauren can be frozen into an ice ball. Facing the icicle that was about to hit him, Roran's clear red eyes flashed red light. The king's engine is in gear. Lauren, who had turned on the king's engine, lifted his leg and kicked up, and the 5 icicles burst instantly, blasting snowflakes all over the sky. Immediately after, Laurent punched out from the air, Shixiang. The majestic power burst out with a powerful impact, and a huge white beam of light came out of his hand and flew towards the green pheasant. The whole body consumes too much physical strength, and it is impossible for the green pheasant to use the elementalization of the whole body to avoid attacks every time. It freezes in front of the plastid, forming countless layers of ice shields. Stand in front of him. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of the ice shield shattering continued. Under the impact of the white light beam, each layer of the ice shield was like a paper paste. In an instant, it shattered into snowflakes. The impact beam was like a white giant dragon, smashing all the ice shields in an instant, smashing all the ice shields, and coming to the green pheasant unstoppable. Why did the power suddenly skyrocket so much? Since he didn't know the king's engine, Aokiji's calculation was completely wrong. At this time, it was too late for him to escape. In desperation, Aokiji turned on the elementalization of his whole body again, and ate this image of the evening. Energy dissipated, and the green pheasant, whose body was slowly reorganizing, flashed a trace of fear in his eyes. The moment of Roran's outbreak just now far exceeded his estimation, and he needed to recalculate Roran's strength. To think, the slates under his feet were cracked, and with a slam, Lauren stepped on the green pheasant and rushed out. The dark-armed color of domineering instantly covered his fists. Those who defeat the natural fruit ability can only rely on sea tower stones and armed domineering. Lauren is very clear that long-range consumption will only waste his physical strength, and only close-up will have the opportunity to defeat the green pheasant. It is very basic common sense to attack someone with the ability of the natural system, and Aokiji naturally saw through Lauren's thoughts, and bursts of cold air continued to condense towards his right arm, turning into a lifelike crystal ice bird. With the appearance of the indigo ice bird, everyone present clearly felt that the surroundings suddenly dropped several degrees. Ice pheasant mouth. The green pheasant waved its arms in the direction that Lauren was rushing towards, and the ice bird fluttered its wings and flew towards Lauren. Everything the ice bird goes to is condensed into ice in an instant, and the amazing cold air it emits seems to freeze everything in the world. The distance was getting closer and closer, and the cold air that Lauren felt seemed to freeze the time, making his movements a little slow. Seeing that the ice bird was about to collide with himself, and he slammed, the muscles in the body began to slacken. Stopped remakes, while the heart bursts with more force, sending it all over the body, engine fourth gear. Lauren folded the 5 fingers of his left hand and threw a seemingly unremarkable punch at the bird. Boom! When the ice bird collided with Lauren's fist, it was like a shock to the earth, and the huge ice bird's action solidified for a moment. Blown into pieces of ice, and the fine ice crystals reflected bright rays of light under the sunlight, and then burst out in all directions under the impact of the air waves generated by the explosion of the ice bird. The originally beautiful shards of ice had now turned into deadly bullets, embedded in the bodies of the Navy soldiers around Lauren. Ah! My legs! I can't see. These soldiers were simply unable to resist the indiscriminate impact of the crushed ice, and large swaths of blood splashed out from the soldiers, dyeing the surrounding sea red. Looking at the tragic scene in front of him, Aokiji, who has always been calm, became angry. Unlike Akainu, the justice he carried in his heart made Aokiji unable to ignore the casualties he caused to these soldiers. And to avoid repeating the same mistakes, there is only one way, and that is to give up the long-range strike on Lauren with ice cubes. Green Pheasant opened its mouth slightly, and let out a breath of cold air, and the surrounding water vapor instantly condensed in the Green Pheasant's hand, turning into a slender, cold white ice blade. Immediately afterwards, Aokiji raised his hand slightly, and the ice cubes quickly condensed in front of Lauren, turning into 3 sharp slender ice spears. Ice cubes and 2 thorn spears. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 ice spears attacked Lauren's head, heart, and lower abdomen in a pinch attack. It was an oblique slash to Lauren's neck. You shouldn't be close to me. Lauren's eyes were bright red, and he bowed and slammed into the ground with a heavy fist. Boom! The thick earth was overwhelmed by the subsidence and burst, and the exploding clods and stones directly knocked the 3 ice spears to the side. At the same time, the change in the terrain caused Aokiji's body to lose its balance instantly, and it fell straight back. Opportunity. Seizing the moment when Aokiji lost his balance, Lauren instantly straightened up and punched Aokiji's waist with a straight punch. Punch fell. Shinji had already felt the terrifying aura coming towards him and the feeling of weakness brought by the Halu stone gloves. Under the domineering blessing of Halu stone and armed color, once Laurent hits this punch, the Green Pheasant will surely die. Oops! Aokiji's pupils shrank, and the fighting instinct that he had cultivated in countless battles made him subconsciously turn on the elementalization and disperse to the side, and his body moved a small distance to the side out of thin air. Instinctive reaction saved Aokiji's life, and the body's movement made Lauren's punch that should have hit his waist transferred to his left arm. Bah! The crisp cracking sound spread throughout the battlefield, and the entire left hand of Aokiji's elementalized cracked into pieces of shattered ice, which fell from mid-air, and never failed to fly back to Aokiji's body to form an arm. The bright red blood flowed out from the left arm of the Green Pheasant, and the Green Pheasant permanently broke an arm. The Warring States period in the distance suddenly couldn't help it, and the Green Pheasant who had broken an arm would really die on the battlefield. On that Laurent attacked Aokiji, the members of the Whitebeard Pirates also launched a general attack on Marin Fando. At this moment, Akainu was fighting against Whitebeard, and Kyabu was also entangled by Marco. At the cost of his life, Sengoku had to end the game and take action himself. At this moment, a powerful hand from Kongwu patted Zongguo on the shoulder from behind, preventing him from moving. You stay here, let the old man go. Looking back at the Warring States period, I saw that the sword-wielding old man in the Taoist robe of the 5 old stars arrived at Marin Fando at some time without realizing it, the strongest sword of the Tianlong people is about to be shot. Filu reminds you. Read Three Things Collection. Chapter 127. You said, is this the feeling? Wearing a white robe, the strongest sword of the Tianlong people exudes a stern aura that belongs to a great swordsman. His sharp eyes are like an eagle when catching prey, and he locks Lauren and holds his hand on the hilt of the sword. Click. The sound of the blade leaving the scabbard sounded, and the old man in the Taoist robe made his move. Old man in Taoist robe swung out his sword, and the majestic sword chi burst out of the blade with an indestructible sharp aura, and slashed towards Luo Lun quickly. Sword chi swung out, and the sharp edge even overshadowed the brilliance of the sun for a while, and in the eyes of everyone around, the huge Malin Fando instantly became extremely dark, as if this sword chi was the only thing left in the world. The battlefield, Lauren, who was about to take advantage of the victory to pursue and kill the green pheasant, shrank his eyes suddenly, and the hairs on his body stood up. Dangerous. After many years, Lauren once again felt the oppression of wandering between life and death. Relying on his keen fighting instinct, Lauren turned around, armed with all his strength, and without hesitation, he threw a punch, the fist of the king. The huge punching power stimulated wanton distorted airwaves, and a mask formed by the distortion of the atmosphere appeared on it. Under the terrified eyes of the Navy people, Roran's king's fist collided with the stunning sword of the Taoist-robed old man. The moment the two collided, the sky and the earth changed color, the clouds were all shattered, and the ocean burst. Everything that happened around them was overshadowed by the terrifying energy fluctuations produced by the collision of the two. After the blow, Lauren looked at his slightly injured right hand that was stained with blood, and his eyes became brighter and brighter. Since going out to sea, this is the first time that Laurent has fought against a real great swordsman. After one round of battle, Laurent instantly understood the difference between the great swordsman and the rest of the top powerhouses. Using the metaphor of game occupations, most of the top powerhouses in the One Piece world, such as Whitebeard and Kaido, belong to warrior occupations with balanced attributes, with both offense and defense, and no obvious shortcomings. The big swordsmen are like assassins in the game. They abandon their own defenses and concentrate all their power on the sword in their hands, in exchange for terrifying lethality. It can be said that every blow they make is a strong will of their own. Murder with power. Woo. Long breath. The high-level armed arrogance and the natural arrogance gradually poured into every cell in the body, and indescribable subtle changes were constantly happening in Lauren's body. The looming blood-colored mist emanated from Lauren's exposed body, and with the king's engine fully opened, Lauren once again entered the state of life, returning to the god of destruction. Abandoning all distracting thoughts, Laurent, who was in the state of returning his life to the god of destruction, became very calm. His eyes became clear for a while, and Laurent began to use his eyes to capture the future in a few seconds. At this time, the green pheasant Quanbing, whose arm had been broken, silently reformed from behind Laurent. Snow-white mist emerged from his hand, and then continued to merge and compress. The old man in the old star robe attracted Laurent a chance for attention. Aokiji prepares to use the Ice Age to completely freeze Lauren into ice. But when Qingzi didn't know, his next move was already caught in Lauren's eyes. Elephant profound truth 2 stacks of waves. Luo Lun didn't even turn his head back, he punched his hand at the back, and the continuous impact beam flashed, hitting the Aokiji, who was condensed with cold energy with great precision. How did he know? Green pheasant root. I didn't expect that Lauren would predict his attack, and his body was directly hit by 2 waves of Shixiang profound truth without any precaution. Boom! Under the terrifying impact of the 2 waves of Shixiang profound truth, Aokiji's chest instantly appeared a huge depression that was extremely terrifying, and his body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string, and he fainted. Seeing this scene, the warring states frowned and waved at a wretched uncle behind him. T-Dolphin, go and bring back General Qingzi. Hearing this, the T-Dolphin wearing a camel top hat reluctantly snuffed out the cigarette in his mouth and pressed his hand to the ground. It's really a daunting task. Invisible fluctuations followed the hand of the T-dolphin into the ground and came to the side of the green pheasant, and then the ground under the green pheasant seemed to be endowed with life force, tumbling and surging, holding the green pheasant in the direction of the T-dolphin, flowing. And go. All this was clearly seen by Lauren, but he didn't have time to make up for the green pheasant, because at the same time as the green pheasant was transported away, the old man in Taoist robe launched a continuous attack on him. Just a few breaths, the Taoist-robed old man has already displayed a variety of powerful and subtle swordsmanship. The old man in Taoist robe may have been there 1 second before, opening and closing slashes, trying to defeat Laurent head-on, and the next second instantly, strange and unpredictable, attacking Laurent from all tricky angles. Although he had never had combat experience with a great swordsman before, under the powerful effect of seeing and hearing the domineering and predicting the future, Lauren still managed to dodge every blow of the Tao-robed old man with ease. Humph! The old man in Taoist robe, who seemed to feel something, snorted coldly, and burst out with a suffocating and powerful aura. What can you do? Even if you see the future, you can't escape my sword. Soon as the words fell, the cold sword intent of the Taoist-robed old man seemed to be condensed into a solid body, tightly locked on Laurent's body. Locked by sword intent, Luo Lun felt that his every move was infinitely magnified, and all of them were exposed to the perception of the Taoist-robed old man's idea. Under the gazes of hundreds of thousands of people present, the figure of the Taoist-robed old man disappeared out of thin air, and then suddenly appeared in front of Lauren. The old man in Taoist robe looked at Lauren jokingly, and said with a sneer, do you feel this feeling of being unable to dodge? Just use your eyes to see the future of your own death. Just when the Taoist-robed old man was about to slash out to kill Luo Lun, he suddenly found that Luo Lun's face did not show any panic, but instead showed a strange expression that was hesitant to speak. There is a fraud. The old man in the Taoist robe tightened his heart, and his figure instantly retreated to a safe position, looking at Lauren with a suspicious expression. You said. Luo Lun showed his big white teeth at the Taoist-robed old man, and showed a harmless smile on his face. Is this the feeling? After speaking, Luo Lun stretched out his left hand and shook the old man in the Taoist robe, and the invisible domineering arrogance was instantly set on the old man in the Taoist robe, forming an indelible target. That came from the depths of his heart, suggesting that he could not escape. The eyes of the old man in Taoist robe almost bulged out. How is this possible? Chapter 128, Iron Fist Carp. Locking the enemy with sword intent has always been the proud stunt of the old man in Taoist robes. This trick has never been missed since he was the strongest sword of the Tianlong people until now. The old man in Taoist robe never thought that one day he would be used by the enemy with his proud stunt. Lock on yourself. The other hand, Lauren, who was on the side, showed a natural expression and said, You lock me, I lock you, this is fair. Hearing this, the old man in the Taoist robe almost spit out a mouthful of old blood, and roared in his heart like a little resentful woman, Bastard, do you think this old man's trick is Chinese cabbage? You bastard, you will pay for what you say. The old man in Taoist robe quickly adjusted his mentality, his eyes became cold and stern, his legs spread apart, his body bowed slightly, and he put the sword back into the sheath, and his right hand was tightly held on the hilt of the sword. House. Seeing the old man in the Taoist robe posing in the standard hand-up gesture, Laurent also bowed his waist and made the exact same posture as the Taoist robe looked at. So-called II refers to a one-shot fatal technique in Japanese swordsmanship that uses the powerful explosive force generated by the rapid drawing of the sword to kill the enemy. You bastard, I don't believe you can learn this too. Seeing Lauren posing in the same starting style as himself, the Taoist-robed old man cursed inwardly, and continued to charge the sword in his hand, while covering the blade with a layer of high-level armament. Although the pitch-black blade was still in the sheath, the sharp sword chi that was unintentionally leaked out through the sheath, cutting the earth around the old man in the robe, leaving smooth and neat slender ravines on it. Secret Sword Shira. The old man in the Taoist robe let out a low roar, his clothes fluttered in the wind, the long sword in his hand suddenly pulled out and a dazzling brilliance like the interweaving of stars flashed, and it slashed straight to the center of Lauren's eyebrows. Luo Lun also moved, his eyes flashed, and Luo Lun threw an upward punch in the exact same motion as the old man in Taoist robe. Although Luo Lun had no blade in his hand, the speed of punching was faster than slashing. Lun was an eye who flashed past the old man in Taoist robes sideways, and then came first, shattering the jaws of the old Taoist robed man with a punch. The king's fist rising dragon. How is it possible? The heart of the Tao-robed old man changed sharply, and he had a terrified thought about the scene in front of him that was beyond his cognizance. Others didn't know what Luo Lun, the king's fist that suddenly appeared, was rising, but the Tao-robed old man could see it clearly. It was clearly that Luo Lun used his fist to hit his own secret sword Shira. Once again, Luo Lun used the same move as the old man in Taoist robe. Although Lauren did not hit the full power of the king's fist, the old man in Taoist robe was the ace swordsman with an outrageous weak fighting ability, let alone Kaido's Whitebeard, is inferior to Jin. Although the old man in the Taoist robe had already protected his chin with his high-level armed arrogance, the king's fist was actually able to block it with just a little armed arrogance. Almost instantly, the entire chin bone of the Taoist-robed old man was smashed to pieces. Facing the enemy, Lauren was never a man of heart. After one hit, Lauren's elbow collided with the old man's neck. The old man in Taoist robe with a broken jaw intertwined the countless afterimages of the sword in his hand into a huge shield. Stopped between him and Lauren. Even the slash released by the dying great swordsman was still fatal. Lauren resolutely gave up the elbow strike and blasted both hands at the same time. Two huge white beams of light shot out, like mercury pouring down on the old man in Taoist robe. Shield. Up. Shixiang did not defeat the sword shield of the old man in the robe, he took advantage of the impact of Shixiang to quickly distance himself from Lauren. Life is back. The old man in Taoist robe, whose jaw was shattered and unable to speak, roared in his heart, and the life energy from all parts of the body gathered at his chin under his deliberate mobilization, repairing the severely injured bones and flesh. Damn, what is the strength of Laurent now? Warring States, who had witnessed all this from a distance, gritted his teeth, and in order to deal with Luo Lun Qingzi, he had fallen into a coma and his life and death were uncertain. The influence of the Tianlong people's death in Marin Fando was too great, not to mention that the other party was one of the 5 most powerful people in the Tianlong people. It can't go on like this. Sengoku patted Garp on the shoulder. Cap, hurry up and stop Lauren. Let me come. Garp, who had not said a word throughout the war, raised his head, took off his navy coat and walked towards the battlefield. He was so depressed that he really needed a vivid battle to vent. After sending Garp to support the old man in Taoist robe, Warring States pulled a lieutenant general, leaned down and said in secret, "Go to the door of justice and find the Queen's chant, and let the pirates come to Marin Fando." Due to the influence of Lauren, the biggest variable, Sengoku finally decided to use all means to fight Lauren and the Whitebeard pirates to the death. The secret sword is dead. Of returning his life, the wound on the chin of the Taoist-robed old man has already healed. He was very cautious now that he suffered continuous losses. Instead of getting close to Lauren, he continued to release flying slashes from a distance. Consume Lauren. Of supporting the old man in Taoist robes is that a tall and almost crazy figure on the battlefield is colliding wildly with Lauren. This person is naturally a naval hero who was just sent to support the Warring States period, Tekken Garp. At this moment, Lauren and Garp were bombarding each other continuously, hands, elbows, arms, legs, knees, fingers. At this moment any part of their bodies became their own weapons, constantly attacking each other. Uncle, you are very strong. Feeling such a hearty close combat after a long absence, Lauren shouted and raised his arms high, like a style. A huge beam of light like a volcanic eruption fell from the sky and smashed towards Garp, and at the same time bombarded the surrounding earth and burst out. Gunpowder smoke. Garp's response method was also very simple and rude, and his fists wrapped in high-level armament also blasted out, directly dispelling the shock wave of Shixiang. 2 styles. 3. 4 styles. As Laurent threw his fist once, a dense beam of light like a meteor shower blasted down from the sky, directly piercing the ground, and bombarded Carp. Carp, who was in an extremely bad mood, threw punch after punch without a word, and shattered beam after beam of light in a very simple and rude manner. Laurent stopped his hands, and it was useless to deal with Kapu Shixiang and the king's fist. All the strength of his body was concentrated in his right hand, and Laurent prepared to use a serious punch to completely solve the battle. But at this moment, a loud voice that made people tremble came from the port of Marine Fando. Mama mama, today's Marine Fando is so lively. Chapter 129, Big Mom Debuts. Marine Fando and everyone who watched the live broadcast were all squeaky in their hearts. After a while, everyone knew who made this weird laughter, that is, Charlotte Lingling. As the Queen chant drove into Marine Fando, a huge figure like a hill gradually came into everyone's sight. Wearing a fat pink polka dot skirt with heavy makeup on his face, he looked like a clown running out of an amusement park, but no one was there. The clumsy makeup that dares to laugh, this is the terrifying deterrent from the 4 emperors. The hearts of the Navy soldiers who did not know that they had already secretly reached a cooperation with Kizaru reached the climax. Why are you here? Marine Fando appears as the 3rd and 4th emperor. How can a fire fist ace attract so many emperors? Go and inform the warring states marshal, we are about to arrive at the port, we need fire support. Under the nervous eyes of everyone in the Navy, they suddenly gave a meaningful look at the warring states period, and said with a bottomless grin, Mama mama. Warring states. I came to Whitebeard today to settle my personal grievances, not to come here. You are troublesome, let your people get out of the way. Sengoku waved his hand with a displeased expression, motioning for the Queen's chant given by the Navy at the port to give way. This is naturally a drama performed by the warring states and the joint performance. Although Laurent and Whitebeard's surprise attack under the sea made the originally planned interception strategy of the warring states become a fantasy, and had to expose the entering Marine Fando, who was lurking outside the door of justice, to the eyes of the world. But the warring states period could not let the dark spots of the Navy and cooperation be exposed, so there was just this scene. Under the command of the warring states period, the naval warships were neatly distributed to both sides, making way for the Queen's chant. Boom! The dull sound of the ship docking sounded, and Katakuri and a group of horses from the Charlotte family stepped down from the Queen's chant and officially stepped into the land of Marine Fando. With the official appearance of the family, the other end of the video phone bug, the whole world is boiling. It's Charlotte Katakuri of the 3 commanders of suites. What a terrifying laughter, it made me tremble, is that it? I originally thought that with Laurent on Whitebeard's side, he would definitely win, but I didn't expect that he would suddenly come in. Now it's worth watching. Take off the pirate hat Napoleon on his head and hold it in his hand. This is one of the top homets made by using the soul fruit ability to inject his own soul into various objects. A cold light flashed, and Napoleon in an instant, it turned into a long sword with a cold luster. Katakuri, go and entangle Laurent. He pouted at Laurent, while he waved Napoleon and rushed towards Whitebeard. Feeling the arrival, Shiroichi, who was in a fierce battle with Akainu, raised Kong Yunchi high, and a burst of fluorescence burst out from the blade, slashing at the dog fiercely. Wherever Kong Yunchi went, the space shattered every inch like a broken mirror, and the extremely terrifying shock force attached to Kong Yunchi and slashed towards Akainu. Feeling the terrifying power from Kong Yunchi, Akainu did not dare to drag it, and his body turned into magma and flowed to the side. Although Akainu avoided Whitebeard's attack, the Navy soldiers behind him were not so lucky. They could only watch in despair as the shocking slash containing the power to destroy the world slashed at them. On the body. Pung! Under the terrifying blessing of the Junjun fruit, the sea. The whole body of the soldiers was directly crushed into pieces by the force of the shock, like a group of blood-colored fireworks exploded beside Akainu. Akainu didn't even take a look at the tragic situation behind him. He never cared about the life and death of ordinary naval soldiers. At this moment, only Whitebeard was in Akainu's eyes. In order to kill Whitebeard, even if all the Marines of Marin Fando were killed, he doesn't even blink. Mama, Sakaski, how cruel. Who came from the port did not forget to ridicule Akainu before he shot, and then stabbed Napoleon in his hand, an incomparably huge dazzling sword she attached to the tip of the blade, and stabbed towards Whitebeard unstoppable. The gun of Elbath, mighty kingdom. Whitebeard snorted coldly, his arms bent to the back of his head, his 5 fingers clenched into a fist, a huge and vast power surged from his fist, and finally formed a transparent spherical mask. When Napoleon was about to hit Whitebeard, Whitebeard finally punched. The dazzling flash instantly covered the entire Marin Fando, and almost everyone closed their eyes involuntarily. The terrifying shock and impact collided fiercely with the huge sword energy. With a sudden shattering sound, the clouds in the sky above everyone's heads, the slate on the land below their feet, and the sea water in the harbor beside them, suddenly burst open. Whitebeard's complexion became extremely dignified. Ling, you shouldn't come to Malin Fando. A grin on his face. Mama, Whitebeard, times have changed, you should just stay on the Moby Dick and retire. As soon as the voice fell, the figures of the two collided again. Roran on the other side glanced at Whitebeard's side. Under the double attack of Akainu and Whitebeard gradually fell into a disadvantage, and the situation was in crisis. Lauren, it's not a good habit to be distracted when fighting with an old man. Garp's shirt had already been shattered and dropped during the battle, his sturdy muscles bulged high, and he punched Lauren with a punch. Uncle Whitebeard may die in the hands of the two of them at this rate, so I have to deal with it quickly. Close black lens bracket. Thinking of this, Lauren did not hesitate, the 3 forces condensed in his hands, a touch of extreme darkness emerged from Lauren's hands, and the surrounding light was irregularly twisted, exuding a dangerous atmosphere. Hand into a fist, Lauren's eyes became extremely sharp. Uncle, be careful, if I punch you, you may die. After he finished speaking, a punch wrapped in black hole energy slammed out. Contrary to the fight with Whitebeard just now, the fists of Lauren and Garp met silently. Like a hot knife cutting butter, Lauren's right hand swallows Garp's fist directly. Go in. This is. Garp's pupils suddenly tightened. Although there was no pain at all, Garp knew very well that his left fist had been wiped out by Lauren's strange black fist. If this goes on, his entire arm will cease to exist. Endure it. With the pain of recoil, Garp abruptly retracted his left arm. Forcing a mouthful of blood in his mouth, Garp quickly retreated to the side, looking at his left hand without the slightest blood spilling out of the wound that looked so smooth. A trace of fear flashed in Garp's eyes. On Lauren, Garp felt the pressure of death for a long time. Chapter 130 _ Broken Sword. Damn. The Taoist-robed old man in the 5 old stars cursed and kept saying, behind Lauren and Garp, he wanted to directly stab Lauren in the back while the two were fighting, but he never thought that he had just lurked behind Lauren. Garp jumped aside inexplicably. Damn. Arrow had to be sent on the string. Now the old man in Taoist robe has no time to retreat to a safe distance. If he does not make a move, he can only become a living target of Lauren. Thinking of this, the old man in Taoist robe gritted his teeth and suddenly pulled out the long knife in his hand, his arm swinging. Sword shadows emerged one after another in a row, stabbing at many key points on Lauren's body. Secret sword finds snow. Facing the fierce sneak attack by the old man in Taoist robe, the expression in Lauren's eyes did not change at all. After Garp escaped, he was worried that the serious punch in his hand had nowhere to go. In the death-like silence, the pitch-black fist and the dense blade collided. There is no doubt that the sword in the hands of the Taoist-robed old man encountered a serious punch like ice and snow falling into flames, which instantly melted away and turned into nothingness. How is it possible? The Taoist-robed old man is the first generation of the demon knife, one of the 12 great swordsmen, and the strongest existence in the series of ghosts. It was damaged in the slightest, but today, this first-generation goosh was crushed by Lauren's fist like a dough. The old man in Taoist robe finally understood why Garp suddenly left the battle just now, because it was really hard to continue fighting with Lauren. It's a pity that the old man in Taoist robe has no time to escape. After destroying the first generation of ghosts, Lauren's fist pierced straight through the center of the old man's chest. PFF'd. Old man in the robe had a sweet throat, and he couldn't help coughing out a mouthful of blood mixed with fragments of organs. Although Lauren's fist did not penetrate his heart, a piece of the lobe of the old man's lung and the spine in the center of the body had been pierced. Seriously devoured it with one punch, and if he couldn't get treatment right away, he would definitely die. Robed old man panicked. For the first time in his high position for a long time, he felt that death was so close to him, and the extreme anxiety caused the Dao-robed old man's voice to tremble. You cannot kill me. You will not end well without me. Your relatives and friends will be hunted to death by the world government. Let me go, I will exempt you from the wanted, let me go back. Do you think I'm a person who is afraid of being threatened? Lauren tilted his head, showing a harmless smile to the old man in Taoist robe, and said softly, and do you really think your world government can keep you? After Marlene Fando, I will visit Mary Joas. At this moment, in the eyes of the Taoist-robed old man, Lauren's bright smiling face was like a devil's hideous smile, and it looked extremely terrifying. An inexplicable sense of emptiness came from the Taoist-robed old man, and he roared uncomfortably, Lauren, what have you done to me? What? Goodbye. Lauren took out the old man's body inserted in the Taoist robe without even looking at it, turned around and walked back. For Lauren, there is no suspense about the existence of the old man in Taoist robe. Lauren is very confident that no one can survive the explosion that comes from the body with a serious punch. Not good. The lock on the side, although he didn't know what Lauren did, he had just experienced the extremely strange black energy. If he didn't stop it, the old man in the Taoist robe would definitely die here. One of the 5 old stars died in Ma Linfen. There are too many consequences that the Navy can never bear. The dark high-level armed domineering arrogance covered Garp's remaining right fist, and at the same time, the majestic aura of the king over the world erupted overwhelmingly from Garp's body. This is Garp's domineering. Little devil, get out of the way. Garp roared furiously, his right fist smashed at Lauren like a high-speed cannonball, fist bone steel hammer. Lauren swayed, dodging Garp's powerful punch. The old man attacked me just now, or he would never die. Uncle, in order not to cause too many sacrifices, I would like to remind you not to get too close to that old man. Finished speaking, Lauren's figure was violent, and he rushed in the direction of Whitebeard without looking back. Although he didn't understand what Lauren said, Garp had no time to think about it. He quickly came to the old man in the Taoist robe and asked eagerly, how can you hold on? I'll send you to the military doctor. At this time, the old man in the Taoist robe had scary white cheeks, his eyes were empty, his lips trembled violently, and he tried his best to say something, but he couldn't make a sound. Oops. Relying on the domineering arrogance of seeing and hearing, Garp sensed that the old man in the Taoist robe contained an incomparably huge dangerous force, and what was even more terrifying was that this force was in an extremely chaotic state, like a time bomb, and it was about to explode. As if the force of the force was squeezing from all directions, the body of the Taoist-robed old man suddenly began to deform, twisting irregularly towards the middle of the body. Through the broken body of the Tao-robed old man, one can see that the extremely dark energy ball inside his body is constantly swallowing the flesh and blood of the Tao-robed old man like a parasitic beast, and it gradually expands and grows. In the end, under the unwilling expression of the Taoist-robed old man, he was completely sucked into the sphere, leaving only a dark and round energy ball floating strangely out of thin air. The strongest sword of the Tianlong people, who fought for the world government for many years and won countless merits and honors, was finally broken in Marinfando. Alas! Garp sighed, waved his hand, and quickly retreated to a safe area. All soldiers, retreat to a distance of 100 meters from this black ball. As soon as Garp's voice fell, the energy ball in midair suddenly cracked, the diameter of the sphere expanded to the height of one person, and a huge gravitational force came from the black hole, swallowing the surrounding gravel dust and a few unlucky soldiers who didn't have time to go far. Among them, several soldiers were completely engulfed by the black ball before they could even let out a scream, and they used their toes to figure out what would happen if they were sucked in. The monster-like ability is completely irresistible. Even if a natural ability person is hit, he will die. With him, the Navy is afraid that it will really lose. Karp's old and sturdy figure revealed a little vicissitudes of life. His turbid eyes were full of complicated eyes, and he murmured in his heart, but compared to failure, I hope you can live, ace. Chapter 131 _ Stunning and domineering overlord of the audience. With the passage of time, the battlefield situation has gradually heated up. Whitebeard was entangled by Akainu and couldn't escape, and the battle between Kasaragi and Marco became more and more intense. Assault, on the contrary, the vice admirals also led the various navies and the forces of the Whitebeard side to conduct a head-to-head confrontation. Because of the arrival of Lauren, the situation of this top war has taken a new direction from the beginning, but the tragic degree of this war has not changed in any way. The stench of blood filled the entire Marin Vando, and countless corpses or severed limbs sank into the deep sea along with the waves in Marin Vando's port. From a distance, the inner bay of Marin Vando almost turned red. At the forefront of the battlefield, Little Oz of the Giant Clan took the lead, blocking a large number of navies' vitality with his tall building-like body, and rushed to the execution platform first. The original plot, Little Oz would be severely injured by Doflamingo and Moria under the execution stand, but now because of the butterfly effect brought by Lauren, Doflamingo and Moria have come Marlene Fando, but none of them really made a move. Doflamingo could not attack Lauren Whitebeard and his party. Moria was bitten by a snake for 10 years and was afraid of the rope. He was afraid of being beaten by Lauren. Make a splash on the battlefield. If he didn't stop Little Oz, he destroyed the execution platform and rescued Ace. Sengoku, who was standing beside the execution platform, took off his admiral's coat, and the eyes behind the glasses became extremely cold. How could it be so easy for you? Come here. The dazzling golden light full of sacred aura shot out from the warring state's body, and his physique instantly swelled, turning into a golden Buddha with golden light. Let me stop here. Sengoku, who had transformed into a Buddha, raised his giant fist high and swung at Little Oz in the air. The huge dark gold shockwave bombarded Little Oz's body like a catharsis of mercury. Little Oz failed to reach the execution platform, lost consciousness in the powerful shockwave of the warring states period, and fell just one step away from the execution platform. After repelling Little Oz, the warring states turned back into a human form and put on a marshal's coat. He looked at the battlefield where the battle situation was getting more and more anxious, and witnessed Lauren's easy damage to Aokiji, Garp, killing the strongest of the Tianlong people. After the sword, the warring states realized that Laurent was the only variable in this decisive war. Laurent's strength had exceeded his imagination, to the point where he could influence the outcome of the war with his personal power. As a wise general, Sengoku is trying hard to figure out how to deal with Laurent's solution. If Laurent can't be restrained, the Navy will fail. And then at Katakuri, who was going to intercept Laurent. A flash of light suddenly flashed in Sengoku's mind, and he turned to the lieutenant general behind him and instructed, let the soldiers hold Lauren's footsteps until Katakuri and Lauren collide, and after they start fighting, block Katakuri's way. The firepower facing Lauren is no longer able to be covered with bullets, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is overwhelming. At least 0.1% of the Navy in the battlefield focused all of its firepower on Lauren. Although in 10 the second trial's absolute defense. Lauren was very upset. Lauren is not a bloodthirsty person. The purpose of this time is very clear, to seek revenge for the Aokiji Akainu and to weaken the strength of the top of the naval headquarters, so although the behavior of these ordinary naval soldiers annoyed Lauren, Lauren did not care. Killing intent. And for Lauren's current situation, he can no longer find a better choice than the overlord domineering. The rosy eyes exuded invisible fluctuations, and an unpretentious and powerful aura burst out from Lauren's body, instantly sweeping the entire Marlene Fando. Lauren's tyrannical arrogance hit the Navy team like an invisible hammer. Almost all the Navy soldiers who were affected by the arrogance in the Marlene Fando field foamed at the mouth, fainted and fell to the ground. Only lieutenant generals and some battle-hardened soldiers can maintain their consciousness and stay awake. Ace, who was kneeling on the execution platform, almost fell out of his eyes. How can the Overlord be so domineering? Damn it. The brows of the Warring States period on the side instantly twisted into a chew-on. Words, as the most stamina-consuming type of the three-color domineering, no one would release the domineering as unscrupulously as Lauren, and even in the Warring States period did not expect that Lauren's control over the domineering would be so strong that he could actually to avoid all pirate forces. The precise effect is on the Navy. The most inexplicable thing is the many members of the pirate group. Under Lauren's intentional control, they did not feel the slightest shock of domineering. In the eyes of the pirates, they just saw the Navy soldiers who had just fought with their own lives fell to the ground as if they were possessed, which was very strange. At this time, Marco, who had been entangled with Kizaru for a long time, suddenly shouted loudly, "Lauren, good work." Only then did the pirates realize that the Navy that fell to the ground was Lauren's masterpiece, and the momentum of the pirates suddenly rose. Under Lauren's influence, the pirates who were originally at a disadvantage in both numbers and power instantly counter-pressed the Navy side. Come on, save Brother Ace. God of Destruction is great. Kill them all. The pirates shouted one after another, rushing towards the execution platform in a turbulent manner. Goo ha ha ha, this kid Lauren is so messed up. Whitebeard pushed Kong Yunchi to the ground, and slammed his hands into the air on both sides of him. I can't weaken my momentum. Dense cracks appeared from Whitebeard's side, and a terrifying shock force ran along Whitebeard's hands. Acting on Marlene Fando, the whole island trembled. Whitebeard created an earthquake. If Lauren's domineering arrogance caused a strong blow to the naval soldiers, the earthquake created by Whitebeard was a devastating disaster to the naval headquarters. Under the strong shaking like the earth was shaking, the buildings of the naval headquarters began to collapse one after another, and the bricks and tiles kept falling. Most importantly, the execution platform where Ace was located also collapsed in the earthquake. Quickly save Brother Ace. Chong Chong. A group of pirates tore apart the defense line formed by the few remaining navies in an instant, and swarmed to the execution stand, ready to meet Ace who fell from the sky. Turn off all videophone bugs. The Warring States pushed the glasses. Activate the surrounding wall and annihilate the pirates. Please download the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 132 _ Open black lens bracket category close black lens bracket. With the order of the Warring States period, all the screens around the world that affected the live broadcast of the phone bug lost their signals at the same time, and faced with the screens that went out at the same time, the complaints of melon eaters from all over the world sounded one after another. Why are there no images? It's a critical moment. Will it be the scene? The video phone bug was affected by the battle. Impossible. How come it just keeps on and on now, but now there is no signal? The Navy must have to use some shady secret. Just when the people all over the world who were eating melons scolded the street and stomped their feet and were curious, the lights on the extinguished screen flashed, and the scene of Marlene Fando was played again. There is another picture. Come back, the picture came out. I'll just say, how could there be a problem with the Navy's videophone bug? Dressrosa, good job. We made it. Looking at the re-brightened screen, Nami excitedly patted the table and cheered. It can really be played. Karina flicked Nami's forehead. Little thief cat, are you convinced now? Nami pinched Karina's face with her unbearable hands, and said with a wicked smile, but Vixen, how did you think of contacting Morgans in advance to arrange a video phone bug? Karina swayed, using the acceleration ability to get rid of Nami's claw. Slipped out of the middle and blew his beautiful purple bangs proudly. I knew that the Navy would not keep the live broadcast honestly all the time, and it was not difficult for Morgans to switch the signal source of the phone bug. After thinking about it with my head, I can understand what to do, although Lauren won't let me go to Marinfando to help him, but I definitely can't be idle here like you. Learn something, little thief cat. Fox spirit, courting death. Weak sparks appeared on Nami's body, vicious. He rushed towards Karina. Come and catch me, if you catch me, I will lose. Naturally, Karina couldn't be caught by Nami, and her body flashed into the distance. For a time, the King's Heights was full of laughter and laughter. Malin Fando, the tragedy that will happen next will be too exciting for the peaceful world. After a few hours, the word of victory will be enough to spread the news all over the world. Warring states looked dignified, Buddha, holding Ace falling in midair with one hand, and smashing the pirates under the execution platform with the other hand. The warring states with Ace in his hand landed steadily, and he waved his golden hand, open the pacifists and destroy them. A tremor different from the earthquake came from the underground of Marin Vandu. Around Marin Vandu's port, many hard and thick steel giant walls slowly rose from the ground, surrounding Vandu in the center. For a time, the entire Marin Vando seemed to have become a huge arena, and the Whitebeards and his party were all trapped in the huge arena. In trouble. Immediately afterwards, countless tall and solemn figures emerged from the front of the iron wall. From the outside, everyone looked like the tyrant in the Chihuahai. Bartholomew Bears are no different. It is a pacifist force transformed by a scientific force. Countless identical pacifists opened their mouths in unison, and the dazzling golden light shone from them, eventually turning into huge golden laser beams. Blazing away with the pirates. Brother Marco, I won't play with you. Kizaru waved at Marco, and flew into the air with a dodge, and the same whole body burst into countless flashes and landed among the pirates. Boom! The deafening roar sounded one after another. The pirates in the bombing range screamed again and again. The fire of the explosion turned the sky orange. Because of the appearance of pacifists, the situation was reversed again. Looking at the dead and wounded sons, Whitebeard felt that his heart was bleeding. He wanted to rush to destroy all the pacifists, but under the joint attack with Akainu, he was simply unable to do the rest. Similarly, Lauren also met a new opponent. Lauren leaned slightly, and the next second where he was just now was stabbed by a strangely shaped trident. Looking at the tall man with a heavy white scarf rolled up in front of him, Lauren said, "You'd better not stop me at this time." The tall man Lauren was facing was none other than Katakuri, who was sent to entangle Lauren. Katakuri swung the trident in front of him. "Lauren, god of destruction, I won't let you go to your mother's place. Is this your answer? Then speak with strength." Lauren stopped talking nonsense. The second and second gears of the king's engine were instantly turned on, and a white beam of light suddenly swung out of his muscular right arm. Elephant Evening. Facing the shock wave of the evening elephant, Katakuri did not dodge. Just before the beam of light was about to hit him, part of Katakuri's body turned into a milky white rice cake, which kept rolling and surging, unfolding and deforming. Big hole. The shock wave of the evening elephant directly penetrated the hole in the center of Katakuri's body. Your fruit is interesting. Lauren's eyes narrowed slightly, and his body swept out, and he came to Katakuri in the breath. Since using Shishyang from a long distance can't work, then it's better to beat him closely. Facing the galloping Lauren, Katakuri's legs suddenly split into several strips of glutinous rice, and the dark-armed color was wrapped around it, and he kicked Lauren like a gun, willow cake. Lauren spread his hands outward, his body suddenly turned, and through the high-speed rotation, a ring-shaped shockwave was released. The white halo was like a sharp circular saw, tearing the strips of rice cakes into pieces. Quickly using glutinous rice to restore his legs to the original, Katakuri's arm turned into a strip-shaped rice cake with sharp edges and corners. His body rotated slightly for half a circle, and took advantage of the situation to roll the domineering strip-shaped rice cake wrapped in high-level armed color towards Lauren. Jiao, rice cake. The same way, Lauren's fist is covered with a layer of high-level armament and domineering, and it hits Katakuri directly, the king's fist. I have to say that any of the 4 Emperor Pirates viceroys are not in vain. Katakuri's horn, rice cake is actually evenly matched with the king's fist in Lawrence' second gear. Punch! Katakuri quickly stepped aside. Various information flashed in his brain, and after a simple calculation, Katakuri launched the 3rd round of attack. Next, you have to be careful. Katakuri lifted his foot and gently stepped on the ground, and the ground under the 2 of them suddenly became soft and sticky. This is the ability of Katakuri Nuo after awakening, turning substances in the surrounding environment into rice cakes. Chapter 133 _ I see farther than you. Katakuri bowed his waist, and the surrounding earth that had been assimilated into rice cakes seemed to have life, splitting into countless rice cake strips of different thicknesses, and they all stabbed at Lauren. Rainy glutinous rice. The 3rd gear of the king's engine. The blue veins on the surface of Lauren's body were exposed, and the muscles were bulging high. The whole person raised his hands like a demon, Shishyung. 2 sturdy white beams of light smashed many rice cake strips, rushing to Katakuri without any lessening force. And Katakuri turned his whole body into glutinous rice again, and used his body deformation to avoid the shock wave of the evening elephant. As the body deformed and recovered, Katakuri pointed to his eyes. God of destruction, it's useless, I have seen your future, you can't hit me. Is it? Laurent stepped on the ground with both feet, and a huge pothole was hollowed out in the glutinous rice ground. The speed of the explosion made Laurent quickly stick to Katakuri, and he was punching him. As if to prove what he said, Katakuri did not dodge this time. Facing Lauren's rain-like attack, Katakuri remained motionless, just as Lauren's every punch was about to hit. Turn that part of the body into glutinous rice to separate out the hole, dodging all the attacks of Lauren. At the same time, a pliable glutinous rice was like a rope from Katakuri's body to the outside, tightly wrapping Lauren's body like a python, restraining Lauren's movements. Feeling the huge binding force from the glutinous rice bound to the body, a strong momentum rose out of the body, and punched in front of him, the fist of the king. Pierced into Katakuri's body like a one small meteorite, and the milky white rice cake droplets splashed everywhere, and the rice cake rope wrapped around Lauren's body. Everything was broken, and Katakuri's entire body turned into a big puddle of rice cakes and sank into the ground, and it recovered from not far away. Your strength is very strong. Of all the people I know, even my mother's strength can't compare to you. Katakuri said with a blank face, but your drawbacks are also obvious, your moves are too limited, the 3 moves you have used so far are stronger than the other, but in the final analysis, they are only more powerful. It's just a fist that's getting stronger and stronger, your speed is pitifully slow. Faced with me who is more flexible than you, what can you do? Katakuri flicked his fingers, and countless glutinous rice cakes the size of rice balls wrapped in high-level armed colors and domineering were shot from his fingertips, hitting Lauren like a bullet. Rice cake blade bomb. With a random elephant, all the rice cake missiles were knocked into the air, and Lauren's muscles began to wander and reorganize, causing slight deformations. Katakuri is right, facing Ape, Katakuri, an extremely fast and dexterous opponent, Lauren does lack agile and quick moves, but this does not mean that Lauren is helpless. The blood-colored mist floated from the surface of the body, Lauren's silver-white hair was missing, and the transparent eyes like red agate burst into a dazzling luster. The king's engine is fully on. The will and consciousness of fighting are instilled in the body energy is extremely compressed, the high-level armed color domineering and the natural domineering color are integrated into every cell in the body, and the feeling of extreme filling. It came from Lauren's body. Lauren's eyes flashed a strange light, turning on the state of his life returning to the god of destruction, and also capturing the future that belongs to Katakuri. Lauren was very simple and rude and came to Katakuri at several times the original speed, and threw a flat punch. Although he was shocked by the speed of Lauren's explosion, Katakuri's mentality did not change in the slightest, because he had a high level of knowledge and domineering, and he had already seen Lauren's future in a few seconds. Skillfully turning the part that Lauren was about to hit into a rice cake and pulling it out of the hole, Katakuri said solemnly, "As I said before, your attack is too much for me." Katakuri hasn't had time to say, "Slow word." A huge impact like a wild horse unleashed hit him, knocking him out. Under the terrifying power of the fist, Katakuri's right chest seemed to be penetrated by a sharp object, and a smooth and neat hole was directly blasted out. Katakuri worked hard to transport the balls of glutinous rice to the wound, trying to repair the horror on his body. However, because Lauren is still wearing the sea stone gloves given by Doflamingo, Katakuri will not be able to repair the wound on his chest for a while. The red blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth, dyeing the scarf on Katakuri's mouth a crimson. He looked at Lauren in disbelief. "Why, your future shouldn't be like this. You are not the only one who can see the future." Like Katakuri before, Lauren pointed to his eyes. "My eyes see the future, farther than you see." That's right, Lauren just hit Katakuri by predicting Katakuri's movements in advance and changing the strike position. So it is. Katakuri suddenly realized that the ability of high-level knowledge and domineering is unique in the entire sea. For many years, Katakuri has taken the lead among many opponents by virtue of the ability to predict the future, and has reached the current position in the battle again and again. Or by taking risks, the ability to predict the future made Katakuri take countless shortcuts, and finally, on this Katakuri is extremely confident and familiar with shortcuts, he turned somersaults. For this somersault was Katakuri's life. Who was bullied again, the seriously injured Katakuri could no longer escape as easily as before. In desperation, he could only turn the surrounding environment into layers of rice cake barriers to block him and him. Between Lauren, he struggled in the opposite direction. However, the presence of the Navy on Katakuri's escape route extinguished his last hope. Katakuri's eyes were fierce. "Get out of the way." Opposite Katakuri, the interception team composed of all vice admirals remained unmoved, silently attaching a domineering look to their weapons, and this was their reply. "Damn Navy." Katakuri instantly understood the intention of the Navy. Once he died in the hands of Lauren, his mother would definitely come to Lauren to take revenge. No matter who wins or loses, the strength of the four emperors will be greatly reduced, and the one who benefits the most will be greatly reduced. It was the Navy that provoked the dispute. A war weakened the power of the 3 and 4 emperors, and the Navy really made a good move. Chapter 134 Katakuri, dead. Was not much time left for Katakuri, and Lauren's figure soon appeared behind Katakuri. "Lauren, if you kill my mother, you will definitely come to seek revenge from you. The biggest profit from it is the Navy." The damage to the internal organs caused by the seafloor stone made Katakuri's life state extremely poor. He forced a mouthful of blood in his mouth, and Katakuri said with difficulty, "You and I don't want to see such a situation." "Stop it, Lauren, that's all. Stop, the whole pirate group will become your allies." Who was afraid of threats? From going out to sea until now, Lauren has never retreated half a step because of the harsh words of others. If Katakuri had the consciousness to fight against the Emperor from the very beginning, and Laurent would fight to the death, there is a high probability that Laurent would let him go, but unfortunately time cannot be reversed. Katakuri did not have the opportunity to start all over again. Now he has to pay the price for his arrogance. Lauren's body was like a ghost, and he instantly appeared in front of Katakuri. His clenched fist was full of high-level armament, and his right arm was slightly bowed, and then he punched out. Fist could reach, the fierce punching wind pierced the ground and Katakuri could hardly open his eyes. Feeling the shadow of the fist getting closer and closer to him, Katakuri completely closed his eyes. At the last moment of his life, Katakuri saw the tragic scene of his body being smashed into two halves with a high-level knowledge and domineering, and that was his future. "Mom, don't take revenge for me. Lauren's strength is no longer something you and I can compete with." After finishing the last prayer in his heart, Katakuri only felt a sharp pain coming from his abdomen, and then everything in front of him began to spin and fall, and finally landed on his toes. Katakuri's body was broken into two pieces by Lauren from the middle, and they fell to the ground one after another, as if there was divine providence in the shadows, this so-called, looking down on the earth all the time. The man finally embraced the earth in the form of death. On the battlefield, the news of Katakori's death exploded in everyone's ears like a thunderclap, especially for the Charlotte family. This was definitely the last thing they wanted to hear. Not good. Lord Katakuri was killed by Lauren. Brother Katakuri is dead. It's a lie. How could Katakuri brother die? That is the pillar that has always supported the pirates. Really, the body of Lord Katakuri is near the port. Quick, go and tell mommy. For audiences around the world who have been closely watching the battle, witnessing this scene has more impact than word of mouth. Since the beginning of the war on the top, there are only two top powerhouses who have died. One is the strongest sword of the previous Tianlong people, and the other is Katakuri. The strongest sword of the Tianlong people has long since faded out. Vision is different from Katakuri. The deputy of any four emperor pirates is a monster with a reputation in the New World. Now this kind of powerhouse, who is rarely seen in his life, has died under Lauren's hands. It is foreseeable that yes, the world once again exploded because of Lauren. That's Kata from the pirates. Oh, it's amazing. I'm afraid that if he comes, he will be killed by Lauren on the spot. After all, he is the man who bears the titles of the world's strongest man and the world's strongest creature. Katakuri is dead. In his hand, Napoleon threw off the white beard with a vigorous wave, and picked up the Charlotte family intelligence officer who came to deliver the message with one hand. The invisible aura that frightened the soul burst out quietly, and the terrifying face instantly became extremely ferocious, looking at the intelligence officer who was scared to pee in his hand and asked word by word, "Tell me who did it." The intelligence officer hanging in the air suppressed the fear in his heart and said tremblingly, "Mom, it's Lauren. Lauren killed Katakuri-sama." Angrily, he threw the unlucky guy out of his hand, and smashed a bottomless black pit on the ground beside him. Lauren. Eyes were split open, she screamed in the sky, and a deafening strange sound finally sounded from her, turning into a sound wave that was almost close to the substance and impacted everything around her. Under the strong impact of the strange sound, the ears of those who were close to him bleed, and the eardrums were ruptured by the terrifying strange sound. What's more, because of the extreme fear, his soul floated out of his body and died on the spot. Although he was secretly happy about Katakuri's dead Akainu, he couldn't show it yet. Once he turned around to seek revenge on Lauren, Akainu alone would not be able to stop Whitebeard's eagerness to save his son. Mighty dog. The molten fist hit Whitebeard. Akainu glanced at the man who was close to madness, and said, "Calm down, get rid of Whitebeard, and the Navy will help you get rid of Lauren." That's me. Hearing this, he regained a little sanity, his huge bloodshot eyeballs turned to the Whitebeard, and the thundercloud like Zeus of Hermes above his head sputtered a lot of lightning around Napoleon, raised his long sword full of thunder, ruthlessly. He slashed at Whitebeard fiercely. "My dearest son." The Emperor's sword booms. "I'm still saying that, Lingling, you shouldn't be in Marinfando." A punch shattered the flying lava arm, and the Whitebeard's eyes swept across the plump body, until the Sengoku who reset the torture platform behind. Whitebeard's face darkened, and after dragging it on like this, Ace was really executed. Clouds in the hands are cut and bang. The blades meet, the fragmented space collides with the scattered lightning, and the clouds above the two people's heads are instantly divided into two. A horrific scene of doomsday. Finally serious, Whitebeard. Taking advantage of the opportunity of Whitebeard and the stalemate, Akainu rushed in from the side of the two, billowing smoke billowed from Akainu's arm, and the orange and black lava arm rolled and turned into a ferocious dog's head. Biting at the Whitebeard fiercely, the dog bites the red lotus. Whitebeard's situation instantly changed. It was extremely dangerous, and he couldn't pull out his hand to resist Akainu's attack when he was entangled. In this desperate situation of life and death, the Whitebeard's crescent-like beard was slightly raised, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. "Finally get rid of that group of miscellaneous soldiers, kid." The eyes under the red dog's hat suddenly tightened. Could it be? Chapter 135 _ Open black lens bracket battle Big Mom close black lens bracket. Uncle, you seem to be in trouble. With a playful voice, a pure white impact beam like a shooting star in the night, carrying a strong wind that shook the space, shattered Akainu's lava hound, and then slammed into his hand with unabated force. Enter Napoleon. Its strength is so strong that even Napoleon's blade was bent to the point of being broken by the impact. Hearing this most unwilling voice, Akainu turned his body with a gloomy expression, and looked at the visitor with cold eyes. It seems that the so-called strongest sword of the Tianlong people is nothing more than this, but I still let you come here. Lauren. Who else but Lauren could save Whitebeard from fire and water? Straightening the glove in his hand, Lauren said, I hope it's you who stopped me with Kuzan just now, so that I'll make a special trip to find you now, Sakaski. HMPH, shameless, let me see if you're immune to my rockberries now. Akainu snorted coldly, thick smoke billowed from his hands again, and his body was ready to attack Lauren. Akainu made a move, a huge shadow passed him and came to Lauren. It is precisely because he lost his son that he was so furious. Luo, Loon, die for me. The two sons of Hormes above their heads, Prometheus and Thundercloud Zeus, respectively spit out flames and lightning, wrapped around Napoleon in a silver arc, and slashed at the head of Laurent. The king's engine is fully on. A low voice in his heart, Lauren, who had recovered most of his physical strength while on the road, adjusted his body to the strongest state without hesitation. The whole person's momentum has risen, exuding a suffocating terror and coercion. In the face of such a sea emperor, Laurent has paid enough attention. Looking at him here, Lauren's whole body turned into a blurred shadow, rushing straight up. By predicting the future in a few seconds, Lauren, who was moving at a high speed, suddenly twisted his body slightly. Like a giant to himself, Lauren jumped high and punched her in the chin. The king's fist. Although he didn't punch with all his strength, the power of the king's fist displayed by Lauren when the king's engine was fully opened was quite terrifying, and it was not a little weaker than the king's fist he used when he defeated Whitebeard before. The pitch-black fist was like a smear of black lightning, and it made a dull sonic boom, hitting the chin heavily. The moment of the hit, the strong force Luo Lun felt as if she was hitting a steel plate. The natural toughness made her physical strength far surpassed by Hu Kaiduo, so Luo Lun's punch was not seriously injured. However, the high-level armament-colored domineering arrogance of Roran, the god of return of destruction, which is integrated into the body, gives both fists the same shock ability as the shocking fruit. Through the tough cortical defense, the terrifying high-level armed color domineering rampages in the body, tearing the body apart. Flesh inside. In game terms, Lauren is the equivalent of ignoring the true damage of defensive armor. The huge impact force not only shattered and cracked her mandible, but also caused her to lean back straight, and at the moment when she was about to fall to the ground, her hand waved to the ground. A translucent soul flew out of his hand, merged into the ground behind him, and merged with the clods. In an instant, the soil behind him tossed up and arched as if it had life, holding up his body. Lauren looked at the magical scene in front of him with great interest. He had heard rumors about Karina, and generally understood the effect of the ability. I have to say that this kind of infusion of souls into dead objects allows them to possess human thoughts, and the fruit of strength ability is too convenient. It's a pity, there is no way to extract the fruit that was eaten. Lauren shook his head and charged towards him again. The current Lauren did not foresee that soon, the fruit ability of the fruit would really be extracted from others. At Laurent, who had been bullied again, the one who had experienced a lesson did not dare to hold on to it. He reached forward with his arm, and the billowing flames ignited out of thin air. Relying on the 12 trials, Lauren can completely ignore Akainu's lava and take a bath in it without losing a single hair, but Lauren is not immune to temperature, and its power is not as powerful as the flames of lava. Elephant Evening. Lauren threw out 2 fists at will, and the white shockwave and the flame whip collided head-on, and the majestic impact directly tore the flame into a sky full of sparks. Passing through the fire-free road separated by Shixiang, Lauren still swung the fist of a king at him. Orange-red flames and bright white lightning appeared in the palm of his hand, holding two completely different energies in one hand, and punched Lauren with the same punch. Electric fire crit. Bang! The two fists collided, and there was a muffled sound. The extreme physical strength collided with the flames and lightning, and a strong air wave erupted, directly creating a vacuum between Lauren. After a while, the two forces cancelled each other out, and Lauren Yu's first fistfight was evenly matched. The vigorous fighting spirit blazed in Lauren's eyes. Since defeating Whitebeard and Kaido, he has never fought heartily. Almost everyone who encounters him will choose to avoid the fight. No fun at all. Other hand, with her tenacious body and high-level armed arrogance, she is extremely capable of fighting, and her natural physical strength cannot be underestimated. There are also various Hormies used to use a variety of elemental powers, and she is usually afraid of Lauren. The 3.3 is now irrational because of Katakori's death, and the fighting power is even better than usual. Lauren couldn't think of a more suitable person to fight. Come again. The majestic momentum suddenly erupted, and Roran's fists showed invisible energy fluctuations, and he punched a king's fist with 80% power. The flames and thunders hung all over his body, which kept screaming strangely, and charged towards Lauren like a huge human-shaped chariot. In the eyes of the whole world, the two figures collided as if a Mars hit the Earth, causing a shocking wave. Boom! Please download the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 136 _ Life and Death Unknown. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of the earth shaking and the mountains shaking continued. The two figures with huge differences in size and proportions collided again and collided again after a brief separation. The King's Fist. Electric fire crit. Boom. After the earth-shattering fistfight, the two separated again. Looking at the panting person on the other side, Lauren was a little surprised to find that, compared with Whitebeard, he had more destructive power and comprehensive strength, and Whitebeard had the ability to shake fruit. The beard is definitely stronger, but in terms of physical strength, it is even stronger than the Whitebeard. Physique was so much better than Whitebeard's, that Lauren found that he had no way to win quickly other than a serious punch. The effect of a serious punch is terrifying. So far, Lauren has not met anyone who can resist the effect of a serious punch, but on the other hand, the energy consumption of a serious punch is also amazing. If you want to kill it, it is estimated that use up your stamina. Eyes slightly, Lauren calculated in his heart. It seems that it is necessary to develop a move whose power and consumption are between the King's Fist and the serious punch. Didn't give Lauren much time to think. She was in extreme confusion, and there was only one thought left in her mind, to kill Lauren. The fat arm pointed to the sky and injected a large amount of soul into the body of Thundercloud Zeus. With the influx of the vast and majestic soul power, Zeus's body instantly swelled to the size of a real thundercloud, and slowly floated over Ma Linfando. Go to hell. Pointing to Lauren from a distance, the thundercloud Zeus in midair suddenly flashed, and with the sound of thunder falling from the sky, a giant thunder pillar with a diameter of 2 meters fell from the sky and hit Laurent straight. The bright white dazzling thunder pillar instantly engulfed Lauren's figure, and the dazzling electric light made the entire Marin Van Du brighter. Mama smiled madly, waving his hands constantly, and thunder pillars fell from the sky one after another, hitting Lauren with precision. Lightning flashed, and for a while, the place where Lauren was like a purgatory on earth. Sengoku naturally would not miss this opportunity. He waved his hand and commanded loudly, "Concentrate your firepower to kill Lauren, the god of destruction." Following the order of the Warring States period, the pacifists who were standing under the anti-vibration wall of Marinfando turned their heads to Lauren and opened their mouths. Dazzling golden flashes from all directions. Countless golden beams of bright laser beams shot out from the mouths of the pacifists in unison, and converged on Lauren, provoking a huge spectacle. Since multiple laser lights attacked one place at the same time, a series of physical chain reactions were produced in the human energy in the small space. The huge fire light turned the sky of Marin Van Du into an orange-red color like dusk, and the terrifying heat was about to burn all the surrounding substances. The sea in the inner bay of the entire Marin Van Do harbor boils and rolls endlessly. An incomparably huge mushroom cloud rose, announcing to the world how terrifying the central point Laurent had experienced. It seems that the god of destruction can't hold it anymore. That's the Navy headquarters. How can one person's strength shake the entire Navy? Did it end in tragedy? Shachi's ripping off a pair of beautiful eyes staring at the screen. She took a deep breath of the cigarette stick in her hand. I don't know if little Lauren can persevere. Everyone will die under that kind of attack. Riley raised his head and took a sip of wine. But if it's him, it's not impossible. If you die in Marin Vando, little Hancock will die of grief. Wang Guo, ha 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 ha, that Lauren is dead this time. How can Brother Katakuri die at the hands of such a person? I still can't accept this fact. Mom has already avenged Lord Katakuri, but it's a pity that I didn't go over and give him a knife in person. Roland. Restricted area, formed by countless lasers falling behind you. Whitebeard not only secretly felt a little worried for Lauren, but the one who helped him the most this time was Lauren, but the one who was in the most dangerous situation was Lauren, not to mention that Lauren didn't need to come to this troubled water at all. After thinking for a moment, Whitebeard had already made up his mind. As long as Laurent was still alive, even if he risked his own death in Marinvando, he would let Laurent leave Marinvando smoothly. Has the devastation of time made you lose consciousness? Akainu's voice suddenly sounded, and the huge fists made of countless lava blasted at Whitebeard. Instead of worrying about others here, it's better to worry about yourself, Whitebeard. What are you talking about? Whitebeard raised the clumps of clouds high, and cut the oncoming lava fist in half with one knife. The scattered lava fell to Whitebeard's side, igniting a raging flame. Under the light of the fire, Whitebeard looked like the evil ghost who crawled out of purgatory said word by word, I have a white beard. Finished speaking, Whitebeard opened his hands and yanked it out, causing ripples in the space, slender cracks appeared, and invisible fluctuations spread through the air. Akainu was directly talked about by the shock. However, the real target of Whitebeard is not Akainu, but the pacifists surrounding Marin Vando. Crack! A dense and crisp sound came out, and many pacifists were all shattered and deformed by the ability to shake the fruit, and a large number of metal parts fell to the ground, revealing the internal mechanical structure. Warring States rubbed his brows. Every pacifist smashed out a lot of Baileys, and Whitebeard's slams caused serious damage to the Navy, but it can get rid of the most dangerous emperor in the New World, Lauren. All this is worth it. As the pacifists' bodies were destroyed, all the laser beams that bombarded Lauren disappeared, leaving only a shocking huge mushroom cloud on the battlefield. Mama, Edward, it's too late, there are no more 4 emperors in the New World. Weird laughter floated above Marin Vando. Now, let me burn his bones into slag. He raised his hands high, and the huge soul power poured into the sun Prometheus above his head without hesitation. A burst of light flickered, and a huge fire group composed of flames gathered out of thin air. Fire in the sky. With a thought, the huge fireball fell and flew into the mushroom cloud, causing a new round of explosions. Chapter 137. Roland's Return Gift. Lauren. Looking at the messy Marin Vando, Hancock's face was no longer arrogant and glamorous, his eyes were only panic, and his hands were tightly clutching the fragments of the life card belonging to Lauren. Even though he knew that Lauren had some 12th trial of the ability to resurrect, even if the life card in his hand is still intact, Hancock still keeps praying in his heart. It will definitely not happen, definitely. He'll be fine. A tall figure came to Hancock's side. It was Doflamingo, who was summoned by Hancock as Shichibukai. Glancing at the life card in Hancock's hand, Brother Doflamingo said, he will be fine, you will understand it with a sense of domineering. What do you mean? Hancock's eyes full of tears looked at the mushroom cloud that gradually spread out, and the fine and domineering color penetrated into it, trying to perceive any breath of life that might exist in it. This is... Pupils suddenly dilated, and Hancock found that there was no living creature in the entire space covered by the mushroom cloud, but there was only one area. Once she entered, she was attracted to it like a stone sinking into the sea, and she could not get any feedback. Also feeling the strangeness is that there are two people, Whitebeard and Akainu, who are the closest to the mushroom cloud. Akainu looked gloomy and terrible. Could it be that the god of destruction is still alive? Whitebeard looked at the center of the slowly drifting dust with a hopeful expression, holding Kong Yunchi's hand that was slightly white due to the force. Whitebeard said in his heart, "Little devil, you must come out." Wow! Finally, a gust of breeze blew through Marlene Fando, blowing away the huge mushroom cloud that shrouded the port, and everyone present looked towards the center of the battlefield. Clouds cleared and the wind cleared. What appeared in the eyes of the world was not Lauren's body or wreckage, but a huge black ball as tall as a man. The edge of the perfectly round and pitch-black sphere constantly undergoes extremely subtle distortions and deformations, and then quickly returns to its original state, presenting an extremely strange and unrealistic feeling. Everyone present was deeply puzzled by the strange scene in front of them. Only Sengoku and Garp on the execution platform knew what this black ball was. His eyes became extremely heavy, and Garp whispered to himself, "Is that the trick again?" A wave of ripples appeared from the surface of the sphere, and under everyone's attention, a hand suddenly stretched out from the huge black energy ball. Then came the toes, shoulders, and head. Lauren's whole body was slightly embarrassed from the black ball. Drilled out, "It's so dangerous, I almost lost my life." Lauren. Looking at the intact Lauren, Hancock's heart that has been hanging finally fell. Trying to restrain his excited heart, Hancock will definitely fall into Lauren's arms because of his apparent position. Yee 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 yee. The iconic laughter came from Doflamingo's mouth. I knew that he would not stop here. If I can leave Marin Vando today, the era belongs to Lauren. Goo ha ha ha. Vi also looked up to the sky and laughed. I know you, this little devil, won't die here. God of destruction. Marco was the first to shout aloud, as if causing a chain reaction. Many shouts from the Whitebeard pirates and their subordinate pirates sounded from all over Marlene Fando. God of destruction. God of destruction. The title of Laurent resounded in the sky in an instant, and through the video phone bug, it was embedded in the hearts of everyone in the world. Opposite the pirate side's morale boost, there are many navies and expressions so gloomy that they are about to drip. The fire bombing just now released enough emotions, and the bloodshot eyes gradually returned to clarity. Looking at Lauren, who had not lost a single hair, he exclaimed in disbelief, "Why are you still alive?" Lauren did not respond, just gently rubbed the dark energy ball behind him. Only Lauren himself knew how dangerous his situation was just now. At the critical moment, if Lauren hadn't blown a serious punch at him in a hurry, the pillar of the 12 trials would have been brighter now. With the 12 trials, Lauren himself is completely immune to the serious punch, and the thunder, skyfire and laser light from the outside world will be completely absorbed the moment he touches the serious punch. Lauren in the middle is equivalent to turning on the absolute defense, and he did not suffer the slightest damage. It's not rude to come and go. Lauren muttered a word alone, and slowly raised his right hand. The huge dark energy ball behind him slowly rose under his traction, and suspended above Lauren's palm out of thin air. Take my return gift. Domineering and precise wrapped around his neck, constructing a target, Laurent threw his hand fiercely at it, and the huge black ball flew at an extremely terrifying speed. This time contains not only the 3 powers of Laurent, but also the external power that has just been absorbed from the thunder, flame, and laser light. All things were crushed and annihilated, and even the space was torn apart with long and narrow dark cracks, and even the energy impact brought by the rapid fall of the energy ball shook a few unlucky ghosts who had no time to dodge into serious injuries. Feeling the destructive power contained under the dark sphere, it is a terrifying power that is enough to make her die. No more the arrogance just now is gone, and now there is only a look of fear in her eyes. Run, you must not be hit by this thing, or you will die. Press down with both hands. The rich soul force pours into the earth, the ground under your feet moves again, sinks deeply, and then quickly rebounds, throwing the like it shot out like a rocket. However, those who are locked by the target can walk if they want to. The black hole energy body seems to have eyes, and it rushes in the direction of escape. Feeling a strong sense of oppression getting closer and closer behind him, he swung two thunderbolts with his backhand, trying to repel the energy ball. Get away from me. The huge thunder didn't buy a second of time, it was swallowed in the moment it touched the black hole energy body, and even made the black sphere faintly expand a little bit. Not daring to bombard with energy, he took off Napoleon, aimed at the energy ball and slashed back, and his body also sprinted forward for a certain distance by taking advantage of the momentum. The Gun of Elbar, Mighty Kingdom. Chapter 138 _ The Difficult Yellow Ape. The strength of the body and the domineering aura of armament were brought into full play. The scale of the sword she swung this time was dozens of times larger than usual, and the huge arc-shaped sword she charged towards Lauren's black hole energy body. Looking from a distance, the shape of the sword's energy is like a bright crescent moon, and Lauren's serious punch is like a flaming black sun. The ground of Marin Vando was illuminated in bright black and white, as if there were only these two groups of energies left in the world. Although in terms of momentum, Jianqi and Lauren were evenly matched, but, crescent moon. How can the brilliance overshadow the sun? The moment of contact with the black hole energy body, Napoleon, who stretched out his slender blade, disappeared little by little as if being bitten by countless beasts. Like the thunder before, the black hole energy body was still not blocked in the slightest. At this time, he finally realized that no matter what tricks he used, the strange black ball in front of him would not slow down by half a point. No matter where he escaped, it would catch up with him and take a bite. Since you can't dodge it, choose the least injured way to carry it hard. He quickly made up his mind, and a large amount of high-level armament-colored domineering aura poured out of his body, thickly covering every corner of his body. He turned around resolutely, and slammed his right arm toward the black hole energy body. Blink of an eye, the entire right arm was completely engulfed by the black ball, and the black hole energy body finally stopped moving forward like a beast that had caught its prey, suspended in place and enjoyed the food to the fullest. There was no pain at all, and the right arm was completely lost, but at this moment, an astonishing pulling force came from the center of the black sphere, and the body tipped slightly like a sphere uncontrollably. The consequence of this action is that the right half of his body is completely swallowed by the black hole energy body. Go in. Large drops of cold sweat fell from his forehead. Although there was no pain, he might feel that his body's vitality was rapidly draining. His legs kicked on the ground, and he rolled to the side in embarrassment, completely leaving the black hole's energy body. Range. The roll of the target is not unlimited. Each attack launched by Lauren can only lock the enemy once through the target, so the black hole energy body that had hit before did not continue to chase and escape, and quietly suspended in place. At this time, her cheeks were terrifyingly white, and her heavy makeup had long since faded. She looked down at the terrifyingly smooth section on her body. An instinct that originated from a creature kept sending her a dangerous message in her heart. There was extreme fear and trembling in her heart, and she regretted that she had believed in the plan of Kizaru to come to Malinfando to make a trip to this troubled water, but now it was up to her whether she could get away. Mom. Hold on. We're here to save you. Seriously injured, the members of the Marlene Lot family felt like the sky was falling, and they suddenly lost their backbone, and all rushed towards them in a hurry. Lauren didn't take the opportunity to attack directly. The one who lost half of his body was already dying. If he didn't get timely treatment, he would definitely die, and he would not pose any threat to himself. Turning his gaze to Akainu, Lauren casually twisted his wrist. Uncle Whitebeard, you should go and save Ace. Warm up, Sakazuki will leave it to me. I need to find him to deal with some personal grievances. Realize Lauren. After there was no danger to Akainu, Whitebeard simply nodded, and ran directly over the Akainu to the execution platform. Okay, come and drink on my boat after I rescue Ace. Akainu did not make any move to intercept Whitebeard, because Lauren was staring at him from the opposite of Akainu. Lauren's gaze brought extreme psychological pressure to Akainu, giving him the feeling that he was locked in by the eyes of a hungry tiger when he was a child. At this moment, a golden flash broke the tense atmosphere between the two. "Hey, Sakazuki, don't stand here anymore. Marco, the phoenix of the White Pearl Pirates, is really hard to deal with. I'm about to lose to the enemy." Countless golden spots of light gathered from the mid-air Kayabu's body, and the eyes under the brown sunglasses looked at Laurent seriously, but the voice still said lazily, "On the contrary, let me help you hold Laurent." How could Kizaru, the strongest of the three generals, be defeated by Marco, the deputy emperor of the Whitebeard pirates? He just casually made an excuse to change formations and relieve the pressure on Akainu. Rockberry's ability is completely immune to Lauren. Akainu and Lauren's battle will be countless times worse. Although Kizaru has always maintained an attitude of doing things that don't concern himself, but when there is a real situation that affects the survival of the Navy in the face of great crisis, he still stood up. "You be careful." Akainu also understood that he would not end well in a fight with Lauren. He nodded without hesitation, turned around and collided with Marco, who was chasing after Kayabu. Looking at Akainu, whose body was surrounded by rolling lava, Marco's body also burst into a more fiery blue flame. It's really troublesome. At the same time, the battle between Kizaru and Lauren is in full swing. Boom! The dazzling laser light galloped past Lauren's ear, causing a fire behind Lauren. "I was evaded again. The ability to foresee the future is really difficult. Your arrogance is so terrifying," Kizaru said casually, and the fingertips of his 10 fingers were constantly flashing with golden light, shooting out one after another of lasers. Relying on his innate knowledge and domineering arrogance, Lauren proudly foresees the future attack trajectory of Kizaru, so that he can easily escape the laser attack that is full of light and rain. Although the yellow monkey couldn't hurt Lauren, but Lauren couldn't touch the yellow monkey, because the purpose of the yellow monkey was very clear, to hold back Lauren. The current style of Kizaru's fighting is quite cautious, that is, absolutely discord. Lauren is fighting close to him, and now Kizaru is always there. The laser light is released from a distance to restrict Lauren's movements, and once Lauren gets close to Kizaru, it will immediately. Elementalization pulls the distance again. Shishion couldn't touch the yellow monkey at all. The king's fist and the serious punch needed to be released close to the body, and the feeling of having no strength but not being able to make it out was very uncomfortable. Lauren once again realized his tricks when facing such agile opponents. Single fatigue. In the future, we must develop a new move that cannot even escape the speed of light. Close black lens bracket. Roran secretly said in his heart that developing new moves is not a one-time thing, so entanglement with Kizaru is just a waste of time, and now he needs an opportunity to break the current deadlock. Chapter 139. Open black lens bracket. Straw hat Luffy. Close black lens bracket. Looking at the execution platform not far away, Lauren rolled his eyes, gave up the confrontation with Kizaru, and rushed straight towards Ace. Fight, or the execution fails, you choose. How can it be a headache? Kizaru sighed deeply, his fingertips flashed a golden light like a cross again, but the target was not Lauren. What makes you think that if I don't fight you, this execution will fail? The dazzling golden light shot straight out from behind Lauren, and its target seemed to be Ace, who was kneeling on the execution platform. The innate ability of seeing and domineering made Lauren see this move of Kizaru, and Lauren reacted. Very quickly condensed some body strength, life force and domineering into a black hole energy body at the fingertips, trying to use a serious punch to devour the laser light of the Japanese ape. But the ability of the glittering fruit is too fast. Lauren only absorbed a part of the laser light, and the remaining ray of laser light still charged towards Ace's eyebrows aggressively. Although the distance between Kizaru and Ace was more than 1,000 meters away, the speed of light was too fast, and Ace, who was wearing Heilushi handcuffs, was completely unable to avoid the light attack of Kizaru. Just when everyone thought that Ace was going to die, a hoarse cry fell from the sky and broke into everyone's ears. Ace. PFF'd. The dull sound of the laser bombarding the body sounded, and a slender figure stood in front of Ace, blocking the fatal blow for him. The straw hat carrying the beliefs of 3 generations on its head slowly fell on the execution platform, and the one who blocked the laser for Ace was the straw hat Luffy. Hee hee, I saved it. Facing Ace in front of him, Luffy had a big smile on his face, then rolled his eyes up and passed out. Luffy. Luffy. All this happened so fast, no one could have imagined that Luffy would actually fall from the sky to protect Ace from his injuries. Looking at Luffy, who was powerless down on the execution platform, Garp and Ace's eyes suddenly became extremely red. Luffy's life or death was uncertain. Garp rushed over without thinking, hugged Luffy tightly in his arms, and shouted at the warring states, "Medical doctor! Call the military doctor quickly! If both grandsons died in Marin Vando today, my old comrade in arms would become a more terrifying existence than Whitebeard." Sengoku, who knew this very well, beckoned to the medical team on the side, "Come here. Treat Straw Hat Luffy." So a group of military doctors dressed in white walked up to the execution platform, surrounded Luffy, and started emergency treatment. I saw that after Luffy was exposed, there was a bloody hole as thick as a fist, through which the internal organs of the body were clearly visible. Fortunately, this laser light was shot by Lawrence, and it did not hit the key internal organs of Luffy, otherwise only God can save Luffy. Ace and Garp had never felt this panic before. They watched nervously as the medics were engrossed in dealing with Luffy's wounds, unable to utter a complete sentence. Humph. Akainu, who noticed the death of the execution platform, snorted coldly, "Ace's brother, is it the son of the revolutionary dragon? It's just death. It seems that I accidentally typed the wrong person." Kizaru also stretched out a finger again with a nonchalant expression on his face, "Then do it again." Before Whitebeard and the others stepped forward to intercept it, Warring States stopped Kizaru with one look. Behavior. Ace must die, but he must not die at the hands of Kizaru, or Garp will definitely kill Pulsalino. Through the eyes of Sengoku, Kizaru also understood his intention, and the flash of the fingertips gradually dimmed and disappeared. "It's ridiculous." Lauren's cold voice sounded, "What you call justice?" Kizaru spread his hands and said, "As a pirate, do you have any right to criticize the justice of others?" When Lauren raised his hand, he waved out, "It's as simple as that, victory is justice." A huge column of pure white light shot up into the sky, directly piercing through the body of the yellow monkey, blasting him into countless scattered spots of light. When the body was reorganized again, Kizaru didn't appear in Lauren's field of vision, because the Navy encountered a new crisis. Straw Hat Luffy was not the Malin Fando who broke in alone. With him, there were also a group of followers from Imp. Prisoners who escaped from Erda prison. In the summary of the criminals, the ones who took the lead in rushing to the front were the Shemale King Ivankov, the Sea Hero Jinping, the Sand Crocodile and the Clown Bucky. A Revolutionary Army cadre, 2 former Chihuahai. This lineup can be described as quite luxurious. "Ah, it's a straw hat." Noticing that Luffy, who was bleeding on the execution platform, whose life and death were still uncertain, Ivankov's exaggerated face instantly pulled out an extremely frightened expression. "Go to the execution stand, the straw hat is dangerous. I need to inject him with hormones. There's something wrong with the Straw Hat brothers." Hearing the news of Luffy, Jinbei rushed to the execution platform side by side with Ivankov without hesitation. Although Bucky and Crocodile were very reluctant, they still rushed over with the team. At this moment, the fine light spots poured in from a distance, forming a despairing figure. Yellow Ape stood in front of them, and his hands formed a triangle. "You can't let you people pass, you are too dangerous." 8-foot mirror. Ding, ding. With a pleasant and light sound, the light refracted back and forth bounced back and forth among the prisoners, instantly weaving a dense light net, and the screams were heard one after another. Most of the prisoners' ranks were directly incapacitated. Staring at Jinbei, Ivankov and others, Kizaru raised his hands again. "It's really tenacious." However, before Kizaru launched the second wave of attacks, Lauren also rushed over, and with a punch, Kizaru had to avoid his edge and retreat to the side. Although Kizaru is not afraid of entanglement with Lauren, he is also very clear that the error tolerance rate against Lauren is almost zero, and he must concentrate on avoiding every attack from Lauren, because as long as Lauren hits a punch, he will end up either dead or disabled. This, you are. Ivankov looked at Lauren with a look of surprise. It was rare for a young admiral to be so cautious. Laurent waved his hand. Just call me Laurent, give it to me, and you can hurry to the execution platform. Okay Lauren, be careful. Ivankov stopped talking nonsense, and continued to attack the execution platform with the remaining prisoners who could act. Don't worry, Huang Yuan will never appear in front of you again. Chapter 140 _ Severely Injured Kiwi. What a big tone, God of Destruction Lauren. Kizaru shuttled behind Lauren with a face full of yin and yang. Perhaps it was Lauren's previous performance that made Kizaru relax his vigilance. This time, he did not choose to use the laser light to suppress the fire from a distance, but drew a touch of gold on his toes. Arc Light tore the air around him with his raised right leg and attacked at Lauren. Have you been kicked by light? However, in the face of Kizaru's light speed kick, it was as if Lauren didn't react at all, and his body didn't move at all. Not normal. Kizaru felt that something was wrong. Lauren had the ability to predict the future. Facing his own light speed kick, even if he reacted slowly, he could not be unresponsive. Facts confirmed Kizaru's conjecture. The strange gravitational force came from behind Lauren, so frightened Kizaru hurriedly stopped and retracted the kicked right leg. The body turned into countless photons and regrouped in the distance, and it was only then that Kizaru discovered that Lauren had covered a layer of black hole energy behind him at some point. Hey, it's really dangerous. Kazuna said in an exaggerated tone. It's terrifying to almost lose a leg. Although I couldn't hear anything in the tone, the fearful eyes behind the brown sunglasses really showed the violent fluctuations in Kizaru's heart. Only then did Lauren turn around, looking at Kizaru with a fierce fighting spirit, and said, In your opinion, is light invincible? The old man was just careless. As long as you don't get close to it, light is invincible. Kazuna clasped his hands together, and accumulated a dazzling light. His hands open, Kizaru turned into a golden light and flew towards Lauren, constantly refracting through the surrounding buildings. 8-foot mirror. Different from before, Kizaru didn't use the 8-foot mirror to repeatedly collide with Lauren, but at every turn, the point appeared and bombarded Lauren with laser light. The ability of the glittering fruit was brought into full play by Kizaru, and he alone perfectly reproduced the concentrated laser bombardment just completed by countless pacifists. Unlike before, this time Lauren did not give the laser beam a chance to concentrate and explode. The hands covered by the black hole energy body spun around the body, and the space around Lauren's body was slightly distorted, and the laser beam from all directions followed. The distortion of space has changed direction, and all deviate from the original orbit and fly to other directions. Boom, 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 boom. The roar of the explosion came one after another, and orange-red flames shot up from Marlene Fando in all directions. A large number of naval soldiers who had been stunned by Lauren's domineering aura were affected in a coma. Bai died in the explosion. It's really annoying. Kazuna, looking at the dead and wounded Navy with complicated eyes. This scene is obviously not what Kizaru wants to see. Not every general can ignore the life and death of ordinary soldiers like Red. If you can refract the laser beam, what can you do about it? Taking a leap into the air, Kizaru opened his arms, and Wu's light bullets roared out from his body, sweeping towards Lauren. 8-foot Chonguyu. The dense golden light bullets like a torrential rain of pear flowers covered almost all of Lauren's retreat paths. The face of Kizaru's menacing attack without dead ends. Lauren smiled slightly, and a strange red flashed in his eyes. Mang. The king's engine is fully open. The silver-white hair fluttered in the wind, and Lauren pointed a finger in the air, using a domineering look to set a target on Kizaru's body, and then swayed his body, freeing from the gaps of countless light bombs shuttle, dragged a long afterimage and rushed to the front of the yellow monkey, whispering in his ear, If light is invincible, then the invincible you, will you bleed? A steady stream flowed out, the last brain poured into his hands. Facing the heart of Kizaru, Lauren slammed a punch. Kazuna's pupils shrank suddenly. He didn't expect that Lauren neither blocked the light projectile with a serious punch, nor retreated from the temporary edge, but would single-handedly attack with 8-foot Changuyu. Kizaru was startled, his body subconsciously stagnated for a second, and he did not escape in time. Time to escape. The body on the left quickly disintegrated and split, and the first time he reacted, Kizaru immediately begins to completely elementalize the body to try to avoid damage. Kizaru was still a step behind. Although he had already elementalized his heart, he would not be instantly killed by Lauren with one punch, but his body was not able to transfer his entire body to other places in an instant. In the end, Lauren's the straight punch still hit a group of photons. Although there is no armed domineering on his fist, but Lauren has Halushi gloves on his hand, and a natural restraint force makes the photon that has been hit by Lauren dissipate in an instant. That part of the body. Lauren stared at Kizaru thoughtfully, and after a successful strike, an idea suddenly appeared in his mind, the prototype of a new move. On the other side, the bright red blood flowed out from the large wound on the left side of the lower abdomen of Kizaru. His face no longer had the lazy expression of the past, and the palm of his hand was covered with a layer of golden light. The hand covered the wound on the left abdomen. Hiss! The sound of teppanyaki meat sounded, and big drops of cold sweat fell from Kizaru's forehead. The high temperature brought by the flash made his exposed wound instantly scorch and tighten, stopping the blood flow. Since this was a wound caused by Halushi, the yellow monkey could not control the muscles near the wound at all, and could not use his life to return to stop the bleeding. In a desperate situation, the yellow monkey could only stop the bleeding roughly. If light also hurts, does light also pass away and die? Rorin rushed towards Kizaru like a ghost again, and the idea of a new move in his mind was about to come out. He needed a battle to confirm his thoughts, and the Kizaru in front of him was undoubtedly the best test item. Once bitten by a snake, 10 years afraid of the rope. After being injured because of distraction, Kizaru has been watching Lauren attentively, relying on his domineering perception. Almost at the moment of Lauren's action, Kizaru turned into a streamer and fled to the distance, and Lauren pulled distanced. Even if the yellow monkey was seriously injured, the speed of the glittering fruit was still unmatched by Lauren. At this time, a huge black figure wrapped in a cloak suddenly fell from the sky of Marin Fando, and after arousing the smoke and dust in the sky, it stood firmly in the field, and it was very coincidental that it blocked the inevitable passage of Kizaru. On the road.